Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. I'll just run through some housekeeping prior to moving tonight's business, if I may. We're not expecting a fire drill, therefore, if the alarm sounds, please can you follow officers who will lead you to the nearest fire exit, where we will then gather at an assembly point on Believe Square. Officers will assist members of the public who are in the public gallery. Can I remind members of the need to respect each other, and I will continue to chair these meetings fairly and with impartiality. The public are welcome at the meeting, but should be aware that they should not interrupt or disrupt the proceedings. No one in the public gallery may take part in the meeting, and any disruption may result in removal from the public gallery or an adjournment of the meeting, in accordance with Rules 18 and 19 of the Rules of Procedure in the Council's Constitution. As this is the budget meeting and the guillotine for this meeting is set at 4 hours, I may be calling for a comfort break at some point during the meeting to allow members and officers the opportunity of a short break. I will then add any time taken for any break to the guillotine and announce the new guillotine time following any break. Again, as this is the budget meeting and one of the most important meetings of the year, we need to give it our full concentration, as we owe this to our residents when setting the council tax. Group leaders have been offered separate briefings about the budget, and the rules of conduct for the meeting have been circulated to members in advance of the meeting. We will now move to the formal business of the meeting. Oh, dear. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have apologies this evening from Councillor Churton, Councillor Dorber, Councillor Guest, Councillor Kenny, Councillor Marshall, Councillor C. Morgan, Councillor Nicholson, Councillor E. Rigby, Councillor M. Smethurst, Councillor White. Do we have any further apologies this evening, members? Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
On the 21st of January 2026. The minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of January 2026 are outlined from page 3 on the council agenda. No requests for amendments to the minutes have been received prior to the deadline of 5 p.m. last Tuesday, the 24th of February 2026. I will move the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting as a correct record. Leader, do you wish to second?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can I put the meeting minutes to the vote? All those in favour of accepting the minutes, please show. Against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The minutes of the meeting are accepted. Item 3, announcements from the Mayor. Death of Honorary Alderman Brian Wilson. It is with deep regret that I inform the Council of the death of Honorary Alderman Brian Wilson, who passed away on the 20th of January 2026. Brian was first elected to the Tilsley East Ward in 1986 and later represented the Ashley-Moseley Common Ward. He was the chairman of the Education Committee from 1992 until 1999 and the chairman of the Lifelong Learning Panel, which later became the Children and Young People's Services Panel, as well as a member of a host of other committees and panels. Brian was the Cabinet Champion for Children and Young People's Services from 2000 to 2008, and he was a school governor at Tilsley Primary School and at Fred Longworth High School, and he provided valuable service to the council and to the community at large. Brian was then made an honorary alderman in July 2009. Brian's funeral took place on Tuesday the 10th of February this year, and I have written to Brian's family to offer condolences on behalf of the council. I now invite members to pay tribute to Honorary Alderman Wilson. Councillor Taylor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, for letting me say a few words about Brian. Brian was a really good friend to me. He was also the perfect gentleman. I first met Brian when I joined the local Labour Party many, many years ago. And coincidentally, Brian's seat was available at the time. And they asked me would I take that seat? And I did, and luckily I won that election. He gave me so much help in how to become a councillor. Brian was committed to all the work he did for all the community. Brian had many different roles, far too many to mention, but the one I would like to mention is his award for Honorary Alderman, which he received in 2009. I know he's very proud to accept that award. I will miss Brian, I really will. We used to have regular meetings at the Dam House, and we used to have really good chats about his beloved Bolton Wanderers, which he supported more or less all his life. I respect Brian for everything what he did for me and for the community, and I will sadly miss him. Thank you.
Councillor Cunliffe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, Brian was, well, when I got on the council, Brian was the Chair of Education, and as you've outlined, the name of the role changed over a period of time. But my involvement with Brian was initially in 2002. I had community protection, and we did a short project working with young people on the streets, with somebody going around with a van with a car engine in the back, working with young people on the streets in areas where there was particularly high car crime. I worked closely with Brian on that. When the funding for that project finished, it was decided that the people who were running it would develop an organisation called Fix It UK Limited, which is based down in Inns, just on the way to Platt Bridge there. And that was to provide motor vehicle training for young people under 16s and 16 to 19s to gain experience in motor vehicle maintenance and get qualifications. And that was done with people who had young people who had special educational needs. And a lot of them achieved real opportunities in life going forward to get further qualifications and actually to get employment. Because Brian was chair of the Children and Young People's Service, Brian came onto the board of trustees of that charity, and he served on that up until only a few years ago. So Brian was a committed person in helping young people gain skills and opportunities. And he played an active role as both a member of the Board of Trustees, but also a director of the company. And like I say, he carried that on. Even though he was no longer a councillor, even though it was not in Tyldesley, he came and took an active role in promoting those opportunities for young people with special educational needs to actually get into the work routine, a life of work, to get qualifications, and he played a really active role in that. And so not only for the work he did on this council, but the work he did after this council, and his commitment to young people in this borough. Certainly I'd like to thank him on behalf of Fix It for the work that he did in pursuing those opportunities for young people. So he'll be sadly missed.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Brian, when I first got on the council in 1994, was part of what was called the Tilsley Mafia, or Tilsley East Mafia, which included councillors Alan Stevenson and Charles Hopkinson at the time. And they were a formidable team. Brian was a very highly respected member of the council. As has been stated, he was a man of integrity and a great passion for education and children's services. I mean, I had the privilege of serving on the cabinet with him for nearly 8 years, and he was a support to me, both as a young member, backbench member, and as a new cabinet member as well. And I regarded him as, you know, a friend. I attended his funeral, and I noticed that 2 former directors of education actually attended, Bob Clark and Kevin Hampson. So, you know, he was highly regarded, not just in Wigan, but well beyond as well in the region. And, yeah, he would be sadly missed. He was a Bolton Wanderers fan, but also his son Dan has a major management role to play at Manchester City as well, which I think he went to a few matches there as well in his later years. But, yeah, I will miss Brian, and I'm sure many people will.
At this point, I request the Council to stand if they are able and observe a minute's silence in respect of Honorary Alderman Wilson. Thank you. Please be seated. Continuing with Mayor's announcements. The Mayor's Ball, I'd like to remind members that tickets are still available for the Mayor's Charity Ball, which will take place at Killay Court on Saturday the 18th of April this year. Please contact either myself or the Charity Committee if you'd like a ticket. All monies raised will be donated to support my charities, and your support is very much appreciated. Smartest tubes has become quite traditional for mayors to provide Smartest tube. You've got them again this evening at this meeting, and you can fill them with 20p pieces if you feel minded. Any proceeds will be raised for my charities. And any full tubes or any donations, there is a box down there if you want to donate this evening. Otherwise, just hand them in at Town Hall reception. Thanks once again. Moving on to item 4, which are declarations of interest. Members who are council taxpayers, own properties or are tenants in the borough do not need to declare a DPI in the setting of the council tax, since these do not materially affect their interest in the land. A dispensation is in place. This does not apply to those persons present, though, who are more than 2 months in arrears with council tax. Members who are 2 months or more in arrears with their council tax should declare that Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992 applies to them. Members should also note their personal interest in relation to the following: school governors, members of Greater Manchester Transport Committee, formerly TFGM, Transport for the North Committees, B Network Committee, parish councillors and Lee Sports Village members. Members are also asked to consider any other DPIs for the purpose of this meeting and any other personal and prejudicial interests, and if appropriate, you may be required to leave the room at the relevant part of the meeting. If there are any further declarations, then please fill out the relevant form and return this to Democratic Services at the end of the meeting. Item 5A. Deputy Mayor for the 2026-27 municipal year. I invite the leader to move the recommendation that Councillor Susan Gambles is nominated to be appointed as the Deputy Mayor for the 2026-27 municipal year. Leader.
Happy to move, Madam Mayor.
Is the nomination seconded?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I think I'll reserve my right, but I don't think I'll need to speak.
Do any other members wish to contribute? Deputy Leader, anything? Nothing. Leader, anything?
I don't think 5 or 10 minutes will be long enough, Madam Mayor, so I'm happy to accept the recommendation.
In that case, then, we'll take a vote. All those in favour of accepting the nominations, please show your hands, raise your hands. Anyone against? Any abstentions? Thank you. The vote is carried. Councillor Susan Gambles, you will be the Deputy Mayor from 2026-27 municipal year. Item 6A, Revenue and Capital Budget Framework and Council Tax Setting. Members are asked to note that as this is the budget report, we are required by regulations to have a named vote on any motions and amendments to motions on this item, so we will be using the recorded vote system. In accordance with Rule 11.3 of the Rules of Procedure and the Constitution, the Leader and his Cabinet will speak for the length of his presentation, and in doing so, the Leader will introduce the budget and invite his Cabinet members to speak on their relevant area on his behalf. The Council is requested to consider and approve the recommendations as set out on page 34 of the agenda. The report was considered and endorsed by the Cabinet at its meeting on the 23rd of February 2026. I now invite the Leader and his Cabinet to present the budget and to move all the recommendations. Leader, please can I ask you to move the recommendations?
Happy to move, Madam Mayor. Can I first of all start, as we go into the budget meeting, to start off with a couple of thank yous, because budgets don't just come together. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of investment by individuals to make sure that we do present a balanced budget, which we'll be doing tonight. So I'd like to start by thanking Councillor Raymond, who will shortly take the Council through the budget, Sarah Johnston, all her staff, and also my Cabinet colleagues and also the SMT. I think we all understand the financial challenges that local government has faced over many years, but Wigan has always continued to be a top-performing council, and despite the pressures we've faced, we've always delivered a budget that was the best option for our residents. Madam Mayor, I'm once again very pleased to present the budget tonight and what will be a balanced budget in every shape and form. I believe our council tax will remain one of the lowest in the North West, and it will probably remain one of the lowest of all metropolitan authorities in the country. I will be recommending an increase of 2.99 on the general council tax and a 2% increase to cover costs in adult social care. And I do know that the Deputy Leader will take you through that during his presentation on the budget. All the Cabinet members will speak on their particular portfolios, and I'm sure that there'll be some interesting comments made tonight following those presentations. I think we should be rightly proud of what we do achieve as a council, and we do continue to deliver 400 services for over 300,000 people, residents of this borough, and many of the services that we provide have won national recognition, hence the trophy cabinet in the reception. I think it's only right for me, in my portfolio, to recommend what's happening across the borough. And despite some people's doubts, the construction of the Fettlers Town Centre site is now well underway and is now visible, with well over 120 people at this moment in time working on site. And we can certainly see the difference as people walk past as the construction now seems to take place. We do know that the indoor market will be open later this year, and we also know that the hotel will not be far behind. We're also seeing changes at A Hall. The scaffold is down, and the outside of the hall is now complete, and the internal fit-outs will follow. Also, the plantation gates, that scaffolding has now been removed, and the work has started to take place internally on some of the lodges adjacent to the gates. We're also seeing now in Lee Town Centre, the work has now started on the Town Centre Square, and other work is taking place across Lee. And work is now underway, as you well know, Madam Mayor, in Ashton Town Centre, and that will continue throughout the year. Plus, I'd also like to mention the Cotton Works. Eckersley's Mill, as it's known to some, but certainly that is the largest brownfield mill restoration site in the country, delivering over 800 homes, plus numerous opportunities for employment, and certainly it is something that is making its mark on the Wigan skyline. I also get the pleasant task of announcing when we're going to present the Believe Stars. And tonight I'm going to announce a further 3 stars. 2 which will be in Wigan and 1 will be in Lee. And over the year I've had many representations, but certainly these come out on top by far, well in advance of anything else. The one is the Lathams, a well-known group, certainly for the younger generation, but having listened to them, I can fully understand why people believe, honestly, that they present this borough in a very good light and certainly are well known across the country. I'd also like to recognise a gentleman called Mike Sharkey, who leads on the Wigan and Lee team. As you may well know, Madam Mayor, have raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for the charities that a lot of people in this borough depend on, whether it be Wigan and Lee Hospice, whether it be Daffodil Dreams, whether it be the Youth Zone. Mike has certainly led the team of Wigan and Lee to some outstanding and really creditable financial contribution to those charities. And I would also like to announce that we are going to put a star in Lee Civic Square for the lottery winners, which I know certainly on the east of the borough how highly they are regarded. And not to be a salesman, but just remember they are playing a concert at Lee Sports Village this summer. Tickets are selling fast. If they've not already sold out, I would suggest that you get your tickets for the concert that's taking place at the Progress with Unity Stadium at the LSV. Despite what sometimes people say on social media, I'll just remind people again that free parking remains in place until next year, next March in fact, for free parking in Wigan and Lee Town Centre and all our town centres at weekend. I think people who know me well know my passion for apprenticeships. And what I'd also like to announce tonight, that we are going to continue with our FAB scheme, Future Apprentices for Business, which has been so successful, creating opportunities for over 300 young people to get careers and get apprentices with our business support. And that is on top of funding that the government has now put in place to support apprenticeships. And we ourselves are very proud of the fact, the numbers of our staff that have gone through the apprentice programme, and certainly that's something that we stand out among any other authority in the country. And the other thing that pleases me is that Wigan and Lee College have now been chosen as one of the 10 construction centres in this country. That symbolises once again that Wigan leads the way in terms of creating apprenticeship opportunities for the young people in this borough. I've also been privileged over the last 12 months to visit a number of social housing developments. And I know tonight that Councillor Gambles will take the council through what we intend and what we have already delivered on social housing in this borough. There will also be comments on what we're doing with our communities and with our recreation services. Councillor Prescott will certainly highlight the additional funding that's now available for our environmental services, and that will come out very clearly within his presentation. Madam Mayor, I can look forward to the year ahead in full confidence, knowing that in line with our new era, Progress with Unity, I am confident that the municipal year 26-27 will be another successful year for this borough. Madam Mayor, I am now confident that we face the future with renewed optimism, and I will now ask Councillor Raymond to take you through the budget. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, the budget for 26-27 is rooted in responsibility, ambition and above all people. A budget built not on ideology, but on the lived realities of the families, workers, carers and communities that make Wigan the extraordinary place it is. Over the last year, through Progress with Unity, we've listened and we have delivered. We worked across the council, communities and partners to drive real impact under two clear missions: creating fair opportunities for all and helping every neighbourhood and town flourish. At a time when councils across the country are under extreme financial pressure, we have worked tirelessly to protect the services at the heart of daily life. That starts with our children. Over 1,000 children with special educational needs travelled safely to school every week. 49,000 nutritious school meals provided every week to help children learn. Libraries remain open, not just as buildings, but as warm, safe spaces for learning, connection and community. Weekly waste collections are safeguarded, supporting over 11.5 million household bin collections each year. Our commitment to adult social care remains unwavering. This year alone, more than 6,000 residents accessed adult social care, and more than 10,000 people received short or long-term support. Every time we defend these services, we defend the very fabric of community life. We know too many families are feeling the cost of living pressure. That's why this budget, Madam Mayor, continues targeted support, building on what we've already achieved. £16 million secured in additional income for struggling households through the Here For You campaign. Continued investment in fuel and food support, council tax support for low-income households, and funding for the community groups who anchor our neighbourhoods. This is not simply spending. It is safeguarding well-being, preventing crisis, and ensuring no one in our borough is left behind. Madam Mayor, this budget pushes forward regeneration that will shape our towns for decades to come, and our track record this year shows what we can achieve. More than 400 new affordable homes delivered for residents most affected by housing pressures. Major town centre investment across Wigan and Lee, creating new homes, public spaces and business opportunities. For safer and greener transport routes, we fixed hundreds of potholes every week. More than 5 million invested in maintaining the road infrastructure. We upgraded parks, playgrounds and community hubs, with the council caring for 23 square kilometres of green spaces and 38 formal parks with 5 Green Flag Award sites. Regeneration is not just brick and mortar. It is about creating places full of pride and possibility. Madam Mayor, feeling safe where you live is not a luxury. It is a right. So this year, we supported cleaner, safer neighbourhoods by emptying 2,000 litter bins and removing tons of waste, and completed thousands of assisted waste collections every week, strengthened community safety initiatives and enhanced partnership work with the police and community groups. A safe Wigan is a confident Wigan, and this budget strengthens that confidence. Our investment in children is one of the most important parts of this budget, and last year's achievements show our commitment to it. Over 500 children cared for through Foster for Wigan. Thousands of school children engaged in culture and creative programs, because we believe that every pound spent on a child or young person is an investment in our future prosperity. Madam Mayor, we remain committed to tackling climate change, climate challenges, and improving the environment we all share. So this year's budget builds on our commitment. 1.4 million visits to Be Well leisure centres, helping residents lead healthier lives. Thousands of residents learned how to swim, and thousands more benefited from Stop Smoking and other health initiatives. More than 7,000 health checks delivered to prevent ill health. 228 tech-made digital inclusion events helping 500 residents get online and access essential services. This is about clean air, strong well-being, and Wigan we can proudly pass on to our next generations. But colleagues, preparing this budget has required difficult decisions. Every line has been scrutinised and every pound accounted for. Despite the pressures, we've delivered a budget that protects essential services, invests in our communities, supports vulnerable residents, builds safer and greener neighbourhoods, and drives regeneration and economic renewal. And we have done so without compromising our financial stability. This is responsible leadership, leadership that puts people first. But colleagues, I want to be upfront with you about the financial choices we face. To responsibly ensure continued delivery of frontline services and boosting growth, we are proposing a council tax increase of 4.99%. This will support services and that matter most to our residents and reflect the difficult trade-offs we must make in the context of constrained local government funding, demand pressures, and statutory responsibilities. Madam Mayor, this council remains committed to value for money and protecting the front line. We are limiting the use of reserves to short-term measures only, and we are not relying on them to meet ongoing demand pressures, safeguarding our financial resilience for the future. So, Madam Mayor, this budget is a balanced, stable, and a prudent budget, protecting frontline services, the lowest council tax in Greater Manchester, easing pressures on household budgets while protecting key services, with increased investment in social care for both children and adults, additional investment in waste and recycling, supporting community pride and meeting national environmental standards, cutting bureaucracy and saving thousands of hours of our staff to improve outcomes for our residents through digital and AI-led efficiencies. With a £1 billion investment in economic projects, infrastructure and regeneration, boosting confidence and long-term prosperity for our people. With £40 million commitment from the government through Pride in Place, transforming neighbourhoods and empowering people. Madam Mayor, in addition to the core Pride in Place funding, £1.5 million impact funding for Atherton, Hindley, Westleigh, Beach Hill and Inns for vital improvement that our communities have been asking for. A further £1 million being invested into our incredible voluntary and community sector. In addition to that, Madam Mayor, we are committing a further £2.4 million of Live Well money directly supporting our residents into employment and support based on local insight and need. With a further investment of around £500,000 to improve our waste collection and recycling services, supporting residents to recycle more and recycle easier. Madam Mayor, we are leading the artificial intelligence economy with welcoming Agilicis to open their northern hub at the heart of Wigan. Not only that, moving their head office from London to just across the road from here. And with an ambitious plan for an AI growth zone and academy in the Civic Centre, attracting regional and national attention and investment. We are investing a £3 million into technology and AI to boost innovation through the Council's transformation programme. With more investment in innovation and digital inclusion, major upgrades to the library network, including historic restoration at Tilsley Library, with another round of apprenticeship opportunities, continuing with free weekend parking, and ambitious house building programme, having delivered hundreds already. Colleagues, this budget is more than numbers. It is a statement of confidence in Wigan. It is in our resilience, our values, and our potential. And with this budget, we continue investing in a future that matches the pride our residents feel for their towns, for their neighbourhoods, and their communities. And now to the residents of Wigan, Lee, Ashton, and beyond. This budget is for you, for your family, for your street, and for your future. It reflects your hopes, your concerns, and your belief in what this borough can be. We will continue listening, we'll continue working, and we'll continue fighting for the services and opportunities you all deserve. Madam Mayor, I want to put my thanks on record for every member of Wigan team, to our staff, in particular to our finance team, for drafting this budget. Colleague, a budget of compassion, ambition, and community, putting people at the heart of everything we do. Madam Mayor, yet again, I am proud to commend a prudent, a balanced, and a resilient budget to this council today. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak this evening. Madam Mayor, those services within my portfolio and their performance are vital to the health, safety, quality of life for residents across the borough. The collection and recycling of waste in its many forms is of critical importance to society. It's not just about removing waste from site, but a process that prevents the spread of disease, reduces pollution, while facilitating the recovery of precious resources. So to that end, I am pleased to present this statement to Council this evening. Madam Mayor, in 2024-2025, our recycling rate increased to 50.2%, and we are expecting a similar performance for 25-26. Madam Mayor, that is significantly higher than the average for England, which stands at around 40%. Compared to other like authorities, our recycling rate and the amount of waste recycled per household means that Wigan is again one of the highest performers, with over 68,000 tonnes sent for recycling. And to underline this, we sent zero waste to landfill in 20 months consecutively from the collection of 11.5 million household bins per annum. Madam Mayor, to our credit, we still offer a free green bin collection service. This, Madam Mayor, highlights our green credentials in community-led initiatives, in litter picking, and our approach to waste management. Recently, the service has appointed a contractor to remove and treat a sum of 18,000 tonnes of commingled waste, which is the act of blending several types of waste. In this case, that would be metal, glass, plastic packaging in brown bin. This action will give residents the opportunity to recycle more types of materials, supporting their council's environmental aims in recycling more and to reduce its carbon footprint. We collect through our free bulky waste service around 900 household items each month, and we continue to look for ways to improve that free service. We have improved the digital service to book free bulky waste collections, that allows our crew to complete approximately 5 to 6 more bookings a day. We have also made improvements to the communications to allow residents to receive immediate updates if issues occur. Our recycling centres achieve around 64% recycling rate, which is above GM levels. In 2024-2025, we had over 500,000 vehicles visit the sites. These sites are valuable community assets. These and this year we fully expect to use these sites, the use of these sites to increase significantly. Each week, in support of our residents most in need, we carry out 2,933 assisted waste collections for our elderly and most vulnerable residents. Moving on to street scene, Madam Mayor. Currently, street scene is undergoing a service review to ensure continued efficiency and quality of services across grounds maintenance and street cleansing, to ensure that services continue to be delivered to the highest standard we are accustomed to. With first time, every time being our motto, it plays a crucial role in managing and improving the public realm. Essentially, our streets, roads and spaces look and function. Its primary role is to ensure the borough's streets are clean, safe and in good order. And it includes cleaning roads, footpaths, emptying 2,500 litter bins and the removal of fly tipping and litter, comprehensive grounds maintenance, including cutting grass on highways and managing over 2,990 hectares of green space and promoting environmental improvements. Removing graffiti is among those things. It also enhances town centres and reducing street clutter, so taking away street furniture that no longer serves a purpose. Madam Mayor, in line with this, I am pleased to advise Council of the successful introduction of our Green Team. That sits within the Environmental Education and Enforcement Team, which builds on our long-standing partnership with the Probation Service. The team utilises community payback to support existing services and deliver targeted environmental actions to assist in keeping our neighbourhoods cleaner, safer for our residents. Our bereavement services provides at the most difficult of times for the practical requirements, both legal and environmental, in a professional but sensitive and dignified way, supporting those who are bereaved. Our bereavement service was recognised recently by an independent ASP organisation as the most improved service, which will continue to work towards improving the service it provides for the people of the borough. It manages 9 cemeteries and, of course, the crematorium. Now, Madam Mayor, I move on to highways. Madam Mayor, recently Wigan was recognised for achieving an overall green rating, placing the authority amongst the top 11, or, if you want to put it another way, one of the only 16 out of 154 councils nationally to achieve the highest performance rating from the DFT and as part of its traffic light scheme. That measures how well councils maintain roads, and Wigan was awarded this status for the proactive and preventative way in which it maintains its near 700 kilometres of roads. We repair more than 200 potholes every week. We maintain our local roads, supported by a £5 million capital grant, and received additional funding from the government to support our actions in maintaining our local roads to such a high standard. Further to that, Madam Mayor, Capital Resurfacing Programme for 2025-2026 has achieved a total carriageway resurfaced 24.2 kilometres in the current financial year. Completion of plan programme, 93% of annual plan maintenance programme currently is completed, with just 7% committed to be spent before the end of March 2026. So we are spending our allocated funding. Defective repairs and operational performance. 98% of emergency highway potholes defects completed within target. 94% of all other highway defects completed on time. Investment in traffic and road safety schemes, over £500,000 of our integrated transport block funding has been invested this financial year in the key network improvement schemes. This includes the A573 Wigan Road Lee, Tennyson Avenue, installation of a Toucan crossing, Poolstock Lane, Carr Lane and St Paul's Avenue, pedestrian push-button facilities, existing signal junction, Newton Road, Heskett Meadow Lane, Lowton, pedestrian push-button facilities installed at existing signal junction. Flood and drainage funding, a strong performance this year from our team. Since January 2026, £215,731 has been secured from the Environmental Agency for flood resilience and drainage improvements, including for 13 properties, 2 on Lowton Road, 6 on Bolton House Road, 5 at Carlville Grove, a new water centre at Bickershaw Lane, new culvert headwater at Stockley Mews, £15,000 for natural flood management at Gathurst, and an additional £50,000 expected for Lincoln Drive. Madam Mayor, I would inform Council that 63% of all environmental agency funding submissions were from Wigan Council, and all were successful. So persistence indeed has its own reward. And at last but by no means least, winter maintenance performance to date. Madam Mayor, so far, the network has treated no less than 31 times. In the process, spreading more than 1,200 tonnes of grit salt, with 100% of our treatments having been completed within our service standards, and stand ready should it be needed. I offer my thanks to those who have been working to ensure the safety of our roads. In summary, Madam Mayor, all of those services that I have referred to this evening continue to perform strongly across all major metrics, demonstrating effective delivery and strong financial stewardship. I commend the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for inviting me to speak. Over the last 12 years, this chamber has received a deluge of housing policies, housing strategies, housing frameworks. Most of you also have attended the housing workshop with tenants. For me, this shows a significant strides that we've made over the last 12 months and demonstrates just how important tenants and our council homes are here in the borough. There are a number of tenants now actively involved across the housing service. It's astounding. They're helping to shape the direction of housing services, its priorities, through the Housing Advisory Panel, through the tenant voice groups, the Readers Panel, the Scrutiny Service itself, direct involvement in procurement and being part of the interview panels, but always for providing challenge and suggestions. Together we have the collective ambition for continuous improvement. Co-created vision clearly detailed in the borough's housing strategy, one of the many documents that's been approved in this chamber this municipal year. Currently, the top 3 areas that tenants have prioritised are effectively and timely repairs and maintenance of homes, a safe and warm home, clear communication and meaningful tenant engagement. Well, I'm pleased to report we have made good progress in all of these areas, so you won't be surprised that the reports will be coming thick and fast into the chamber from May on these 3 priorities and many more besides. And I'm very much looking forward to taking you through these papers throughout the municipal year. And you never know, we might get a unanimous approval from them all, bearing in mind the involvement of tenants and the significant amount of time they give in shaping the housing services, which is very much appreciated by everyone, all striving to make improvements. And it's a real privilege to work alongside tenants, officers and partners as we really are stronger together. So tonight, I don't want to repeat what you've already know with all of the papers that you've had before. Instead, I want to focus on our collective ambition for the housing service and our continued commitment that puts tenants at the heart of everything that we do. What unites us as a chamber is that we all agree that this borough needs more council homes, more affordable homes, opportunities for shared ownership and self-build, making sure we are accommodating and supporting people with additional needs and future-proofing our ageing population, which my colleague Keith Cunliffe, Councillor Cunliffe, will be outlining. As you all know, the Housing Service came back into the council in 2017, and the first new build council homes were completed in 2019. There were 115 in total. The number of newly built council homes from then to now is 689. And in addition, by working in partnerships with a wide range of registered providers over this time period, a further 2,117 affordable homes have been built in this borough. These organisations gives the council first refusal on the allocations and making sure that people on the waiting list have an opportunity for a new home. The council is currently on site in various places across the borough: Ince, Orrell, Tilsley, Douglas, Westleigh, Shevington, or they are about to be on site or about to go. In the pipeline, there are 250 more council homes. Our housing association partners have 1,406 planned for the borough. And the council's land disposal initiative, which was designed to facilitate as many affordable homes as possible, as our approach has attracted a lot of interest. And to date, it's proposed that 75% of the new homes will be affordable, which is around 422. We've already submitted bids for funding from the Labour government's pot of the £34 billion, as they are as committed like us to building as many council homes as possible. We will continue to submit bids to this fund as we can demonstrate a good track record. Many councils across the country have not built any new council houses for years, but this council is known for dealing and delivering good quality homes across the borough. So in summary, from the housing perspective, since 2019, this borough has seen 2,816 new affordable homes being built, of which there are 689 council homes. There will be a further 2,043 in the next couple of years. This will certainly help with the demand that we have on the waiting list. And for your information, over the last 12 months, 1,743 applicants on that waiting list are now in a home of their own. So we have families, couples and single people that are actually living in their own home, a phenomenal number. Progress is being made so far as a result of a true collective effort. Council tenants, council teams, external partners, contractors, registered providers, ethical landlords. My personal thanks to everyone involved on what has been achieved. And it's my privilege to work with such passionate, determined, creative and capable colleagues. It's also true of the exceptional success of another part of my portfolio, which has a symbiotic relationship with housing. I speak of the national award-winning welfare team who were recognised this year as Team of the Year from Institute of Revenue Ratings and Valuations for the ongoing Here For You campaign. And as you know, I always give a financial update at each meeting. And my colleague, Councillor Raymond, has mentioned that it was £6 million. Not to forget the £21,134.54. And counting. A big number, but just think about all the people that have a better standard of living, who have become more active, whose lives have changed for the better, for having the support that they're entitled to, and have paid into over the years. Attendance allowance, for example, carers allowance, child disability living allowance as well. I could go on, but I do implore you, as I always have to look at the welfare pages on our site. Look at the videos of real people explaining what it has meant to them. We have more to do. We've always said that. We're continuing with new and innovative approaches, as sadly, there is resistance from people coming forward, afraid of the stigma created about having benefits, or they're also concerned that any money would need to be paid back. Which is why, more recently, we've partnered up with a GP surgery as a pilot to support patients who may be eligible for attendance allowance and other benefits. The surgery identified through data analysis 484 potential individuals. The GP was the ones that made that direct contact with them, inviting them into the surgery to speak with the income maximisation team. So far, this surgery alone has actually got an unclaimed benefits £250,000, and they've been identified and claimed. We intend to scale this model across the borough. There are currently 9 other GPs indicating an interest. We know there's going to be more. So on a broad brush calculation, if for a further 9, that's £2.2 million back into the borough, directly into people's pockets. It's no surprise that we're being approached by other councils across the country to learn about us and how we do it. We are happy to share, because as you know, we know firsthand how lives have changed for the better in this borough. No other area has been as successful as we have. As we have an internal data-led approach, direct contact with people that could be eligible, and an incredibly talented team of people who are empathetic, caring, and know back to front the complicated benefit system. Again, my thanks to everyone that's contributed to this really groundbreaking and life-changing initiative. And as I've said before, we will never stop going. We will make sure that as many people as possible get the support they are owed, so that I'm counting on you again to ask to help us break those barriers down for anyone who is reluctant, embarrassed and resistant to this particular programme. Over to you. Thank you.
I don't know who follows Susan. It's always a hard one, that, isn't it? Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I just want to highlight, really, the work that we do within our libraries, community and leisure services. I know over the past couple of years, we've really kind of worked on being more commercial in a public sector arena. And I want to thank our frontline staff who've really took that on board with initiative ideas and really gone forward and building how we can maximise income. Firstly, I want to talk about our libraries, and we're always proud, everybody in this chamber, that Wigan has been one of those places that we've never closed any libraries. Libraries are really important, they're the heart of our community, but we all know that you can't stand still, and in Wigan we never stand still, and we knew we had to really maximise the income into those libraries and make them more than a library and more than a building. And I'm really proud to say we've done that fantastically, and one example is the banks. So our high street banks are disappearing all the time. We've done a lot of work in Lee with Barclays, and we're working with building societies at the moment to kind of give that opportunity, and we're hoping to spread that in other libraries across, because it is a big loss to our communities that they don't do that. One of the other things is that people naturally use our libraries to print services when they're actually posting things out, but then they've got to move somewhere else. So staff came up with the idea of putting the lockers in our libraries. We've done that in 3 libraries now as kind of an example. It's worked really well, and people have really enthused with that, and it's actually brought income into those libraries, so we don't need to use the budget when we're actually putting free events in for people. And if we look at, and you've heard me mention this before, and Lee has been a catalyst of looking at events that we've put on. We got funding through the Arts Council for stages and everything. We've had rock concerts in there, ice rinks at Christmas, comedy evenings, you name it. We've done everything to show that it's more, a library is more than just a building. It's got to be accessible. People have gone through the doors at Lee Library and other libraries over the last couple of years who've never entered a library before and are astonished at the buildings that we've got. Touched on the impartial things, and that's really brought some really good income into our libraries and been maximised. And this has been all down to our staff putting this forward. One key example of the lockers and the money that it brought in, recently we wanted to do some work in Marsh Green Library, and we used it, we didn't have any funding to do it. We used the locker money there, what's been produced at Marsh Green. Nearly 250 residents were there on a free event, really embodied in that community. That only came about through maximising those lockers, and we're hoping to spread that across other libraries in the future. So it is really a good news item in our libraries. We're hoping that that'll be for many, many years to come. There is pressures, but what the staff have done is made sure that it's not about a library, it's about a building and everything we can do in there. And actually the leader's been pushing that it is more than all them services in there, and we've done that. Our communities team continue to really support with and we've talked about the COVID years and all the things that we've done over those years, and our communities are stronger now than they've ever been before. And that is really down to our grassroots staff who do that. And we've always supported, even when budgets have been tight, putting the community investment fund in and different wording that we've done that. And over the last couple of years, we've probably dished out now just over £300,000 to groups. There's been 200 grassroots groups in 1 year, 104 in another. But what we did, we listened to members in this chamber, and we also listened to our community groups. And one of the things that we did, we put deadlines on when people had to apply for grants. That didn't go because people were rushing around to do it. We've opened that up now, so it's a yearly bidding process, and they can bid up to £2,000 to go into that. But there's no rush. They can do that over that yearly period, and that's really been fruitful for those to do that. One of the other things that's been a real great thing for the borough and really stood out is Match My Project, which we've led on that at Wigan and the staff, and that's brought so much stuff into this borough where we wouldn't have been able to do it. And I know lots of you in this chamber have done that. 212 groups have benefited from that in the last 15, 16 months, whatever it be. 200 businesses have engaged who've just helped those businesses. And it's brought in the region of £200,000 worth of work in those communities. So there again, I want to thank the businesses that we've got in this borough who've really upped the game and helped communities. They've done it because they want to get involved in the community. They've always said, the businesses, we don't know how to get involved. We don't know how we can do this. Match My Projects has opened that door and proved to people that they can really do it. So it's been really good that our communities team have ran that and really been enthusiastic about it. We're still running the Funding Fridays where Tracy and the team there who go out to communities, and members have been involved in that, how we can get into funding outside of the remit of the council, and that's been really successful. So really our community groups are a lifeblood of our communities. Our communities team have really worked closely with them. They do that, and it's a real bond, and that's been the success that we've seen for many, many years and put Wigan right on the front foot of everything. Finally, our leisure services. Lots of people use our gyms, use all our services, and can see, and there again, going back to being more commercially minded in a really commercial field. If we ran it like a council did 20 years ago, we wouldn't be here today with the gyms that we've got and not closed any, but improved everything. Because our offer is 100% better than any other commercial activity out there, because we link in with the NHS, we've got all those funding opportunities, but we need the grassroots people at that level and our frontline staff really to work hard at doing that, and they do that. People will remember when we brought leisure services back in 2021, we had a budget deficit then of £5 million. That is now down to zero through the hard work of doing that and being commercially minded. Our figures, and I've mentioned this at many, many meetings, have gone way up. 18,000 active members at our gyms. And what we've invested now, and people will see this and see it in other gyms, we've invested nearly £3 million in our gyms, because that's been generated through that commercial activity. You've got to move with the times, and you've got to see, people have got to see that you're more than a council. And people see our gyms as being part of the council, but a real commercial arm and a success. And I think that's really down to the hard work of the staff and the commitment through all of us in this chamber of doing that. It really, really has been a success. But one of the things I just want to finally touch on, because lots of members contact us over this, we have lots of volunteering opportunities. So whether it's walking groups, walking football, you name it, you all see that. We're really dependent on our volunteers in the community running those activities. And they really embody everything we do. Lots of you will know it, whether it's bowling clubs, whether it's walking football, and they are the lifeblood of what we do there. And one of the things that's been picked up in the past, and we've done it, is swimming. Has always been kind of an hard one, really, because it really is touchy of getting that in the commercial world. Wigan now is seen as a world, is world renowned for its swimming activities. And Wigan Best is so successful. So when people who are of a fair age go back and look at Wigan Wasps, who was really at the highlight of everything, and June Croft and all the people that we knew then. We're back in that era now of doing that, and that is down to those volunteers in those swimming clubs, but our gyms and our people in our swimming pools working close with those people. It is that connection with everybody, that partnership working and everybody coming together, and people see Wigan as a successful place, because leisure and health is so important. And I've said it so many times in this chamber, without your health, you've got nothing. And that's what we've got here in Wigan. So I want to thank all the staff who work on it in all them areas, because we're developing and we're moving forward. Other authorities are still speaking about libraries closures, swimming, and we're developing, moving forward and investing. Long may it continue. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of full council. I'd like to first of all update you on full council on community safety partnership funding. CSB funding combines 4 key grants from the Police and Crime Commissioner and must be focused on the 10 priorities set out in the Greater Manchester Police and Crime Plan, Standing Together 2024 to 2029. Following consultation and aligned to the 10 priorities, we've established 4 local objectives. Firstly, maintain and enhance focus on early intervention and prevention, particularly in relation to school exclusions and children missing education, whilst ensuring that all risk cohorts linked into wider prevention and diversity programmes of work and approaches. Secondly, implement a clear, hold and build approach to tackling serious organised crime issues and those that relate to violent crime in communities. Thirdly, develop a multi-agency approach to managing and supporting repeat offenders. And lastly, work to address perceptions of safety in the community regarding violent crime with a focus on young people. It is on these local objectives that our grant funding has been spent this year, with some clear outcomes being established. We've invested heavily in our high schools to give additional support both in school and at home to those on the brink of being excluded or missing education. This includes additional support in relation to managed moves and involves working in collaboration with the voluntary community and social enterprise sector. Additional funding for the VSC sector has seen the utilisation of the voluntary sector grant mainly to fund positive activities for children and young people in our communities. And we've seen significant outcomes in places such as Marsh Green, where the youth activity involves a library in primary school and has turned significant antisocial behaviour targeted at the library and its staff into a really positive relationship. We've also funded a strategic needs assessment of youth ASB, which will start shortly and will be facilitated by Youth Focus North West. The outcome of this, along with the data analysis will allow us to really focus on what young people want and where they want it, whilst providing both a reactive and proactive approach to this issue. We'll also support the partnership to prepare for the local implementation of the National Youth Strategy. Off-road bikes are a major concern, and our green open spaces to continue to attract this type of nuisance behaviour from across the region. Operation Handbrake is our local response, for which the CSP is committed to financially supporting, with reported incidents dropping by 66% in Westleigh and 40% in the Bickershaw and Aspel areas, with 101 bikes being seized and 4 arrests in 2025. As with so many areas of work, Operation Handbrake is now seen as a template for the other areas of Greater Manchester. Serious organised crime, especially in the form of drug dealing and trafficking, continues to blight communities across the country, was a top concern for our residents during consultation. The funding is allowing us to support police to complete covert intelligence gathering operations as part of the clear, hold, build approach, which has seen success in the City of Manchester, Cheetham Hill and Piccadilly Gardens. The safety of our residents will always remain a key objective for the partnership, with investments being made in the Safe Haven, Safety Marshals, Town Centre Marshals, and the Safe Places programme, of which now we have over 140 venues which operate across the borough, operating during the day and the night. Embrace, a local charity which is user-led and dedicated to supporting disabled people and their families, have agreed to independently assess Safe Places so that we can ensure that it is fit for purpose to support disabled and vulnerable people across the borough. Contribution towards water safety will continue next year, led by Greater Manchester, but action locally for our local water safety partnership, which Councillor Liam McSteen sits on. One of the largest investments we've made this year is towards prevention of weapon-enabled crime, including knives. Led by a violence reduction officer, this programme of work has been extensive, including knife collection points, stop the bleed training, and the promotion of the Let's Be Blunt campaign, working with Leanne Lucas from the Southport attack. To date, we've collected over 1,200 knives off the street, along with machetes and imitation firearms. In the last 12 months, Wigan Police have recorded a 30% reduction in crimes involving weapons. We are the only area in Greater Manchester to have seen a decrease in this area. The Mayor, Andy Burnham, is now working with the Liverpool City Metro Mayor, Steve Rotherham, looking to spread our approach to all areas and are planning a workshop in April to start this learning. The Small Hate Crime Grant has been transferred to partners who are arranging a community belonging event from which small funding pots will be offered to communities to increase cohesion. We've also procured the services of Access 27, who through their theatre production, Causing Smoke, explores the process of radicalisation and right-wing extremism as part of our Prevent agenda. The next financial year will allow us to continue with this invaluable work, and by doing so, we hope to extend the knowledge of the partnership and its work and change some perceptions in terms of safety, crime and disorder. There will be a more focused approach to support the victims with the introduction of the Victims Code and on low-risk prolific offenders while blocking up the court and prison system, costing a disproportionate amount and damaging our businesses and town centres. To support this, our core grants are already being confirmed on a one-year settlement, although the exact amounts are yet to be agreed, as the hope is for each area to have a small uplift based on inflation. We have, however, already had confirmed an additional £50,000 towards community cohesion and belonging. Focusing now on safer streets and lower crime, I'm pleased to report that crime across our borough is falling, while arrests are up almost 20%. Neighbourhood crime, including burglary, theft from vehicles and personal theft, is down by nearly 30%. This is down to strong neighbourhood policing and a strong partnership working which exists between the council, its Labour councillors and Greater Manchester Police. Knife crime is down by over 16%, which has been supported for the provision of a number of knife disposal bins across the borough, including at household waste recycling centres. The council's support of the Let's Be Blunt campaign, which is led by the Southport attack victim Leanne Lucas, also continues to make a positive contribution, with GM Mayor Andy Burnham now encouraging all GM authorities to adopt a positive stance regarding the campaign. It is also pleasing to learn of continued improved GMP response times to Grade 1 and Grade 2 reporting incidents, and much shortened waiting times when residents are reporting incidents either via 101 or increasingly online. Domestic abuse support also remains robust, with strong performance on domestic abuse protection orders and public engagement with nearly 1,000 less repeat victims of domestic abuse in our borough, and that is a real achievement. Antisocial behaviour improvements continue with a new ASB dashboard set to strengthen intelligence and lead responses. As I've reported before, tackling businesses who sell illicit goods and those who target our most vulnerable residents remains a priority, which is evidenced by the number of successful prosecutions. In conclusion, Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to say that Greater Manchester Police, the Council and Community Safety Partnership continue to help make our borough safer for everyone who lives, works or visits our borough. Organised crime group disruption works progressing strongly with Operation Slope, now serving as a model for additional borough-wide operations. Operation Handbrake continues to deliver real and measurable impacts across communities, and our knife hand crime work continues to attract regional endorsement and deliver tangible results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I think there is one message that is kind of weaving through quite a lot of speeches today, and it's linked to Progress with Unity, in that in Wigan Borough, we are putting children and families first. We are doing that whilst keeping council tax lowest in Greater Manchester, North West, and probably one of the lowest in the country as well. So it's pleasing to hear that thread throughout as well, putting that children and family in there. That's the difference that we're trying to make on this side. Investing in young people, supporting families early and keeping costs under control. And it is now working. Our children's services are overall rated good, with strong leadership and a clear and loud voice of the child coming through everything that we are doing around the service as well. This is something that the council should all be proud of. As corporate parents, you should also be proud of as well. It reflects years of work that has gone into this to turn this around with our partners, with investment from the council, from our side as well, to ensure that children are getting the help that they need at the right time and from the right people. It's the most important thing that we can do is to support families early, before problems escalate, to nip things in the bud early. That's why we've invested heavily and will continue now to invest heavily in that early help and prevention. Because when families get the support that they need early on, more children can stay safely with their families. At the same time, our safeguarding teams are there, they are ready, working multi-agency safeguarding hubs, known as the front door here in the council and with the police. But it's about balancing up support where it's possible, but also protection when it's necessary with our children in the borough. One of the biggest financial pressures facing the councils across all of the country, and we're not immune to that, is the cost of external residential placements for children. Whilst there's a small proportion of children who end up in external residential, for example, here in Wigan, it's roughly around approximately 75 children at the moment, that can cost us £6,500 a week per child. That racks up a relatively significant bill over time. But what we're doing now is taking a hold of that bill, making sure that we are market shaping in that arena and making sure that we are holding those privately owned providers to account and ensuring we can drive down their costs as well. We're shaping the market, we're challenging, we're also investing locally in a new care home in the borough as well. At the same time, we're strengthening foster care support and kinship caring as well. So where possible, we're ensuring that children are brought up within the family, within a family environment. I'm also pleased to say that some recent Ofsted inspections of our children's homes have come out as outstanding. Quality of our care and service that we're providing, it's extremely positive to hear this coming through. This budget also continues our commitment to give every child the best start in life as well. We know we will soon have 6 family hubs open across the borough, offering support to families in their communities from the early years advice on parenting right the way through into helping people into employment as well. These will be central to ensuring there is a one-stop shop for many different services. This work is tackling some of the most deep-rooted issues as well in some of our most challenging communities. For example, we all know, and I think we've passed a motion in this chamber as well around dental care, as particularly with children, it's one of the biggest drivers of hospital admissions in children. So this Best Start programme is about addressing those problems, ensuring that children are rocking up to school ready, healthy and ready to learn as well. This £2.6 million investment into children to ensure that in those early years they've got a good level of development to turn up at school and be ready to learn. This in addition, building on Councillor Reedy here around our libraries, each child will still in reception receive that free library card to ensure that they can access reading, learning opportunities right from the very start and drive those parents into our libraries as well. Demand for special educational needs and disabilities, commonly known as SEND, we know that growth, that demand is not going to go away here in Wigan Borough. We're not immune to that, but we are expanding our local provisions here. We've expanded Langate School into the former Bryn Gates school. We're rebuilding the Rowan Tree and expanding the number of places that will exist there. Very pleased that it's going to be in the Lee West ward, my ward as well. But it tackles and it will bring people from across the whole borough. We're also increasing specialist resource-based provision within mainstream as well to ensure children can remain in the communities so people are not having to go outside the borough. They will be educated strongly here in the Wigan Borough as well. This means more children closer to home and within their communities as well. We're also working with the Department of Education and we're asking for some more money, believe it or not, to open up a new alternative provision here in the borough as well to ensure children who are struggling in mainstream can still remain in education and in this borough as well and continue to access educational opportunities. 97% of our schools are rated good and outstanding. That's only 2 schools that are not, and there's an improvement plan. We're just waiting for them to be Ofsteded, basically, then we can get 100% on that. But we know the framework's changed. We know the framework's changed as well, so hopefully those will be meeting the expectations as well. At the same time, we are investing in new school rebuilds and expansions across the borough, Schools such as Rosebridge, the Rowan Trio already mentioned, Lowton Junior Infants, Garrett Hall, Goulburn High School, many, many more across the borough, and we are expanding places as well where they are needed. We also know residents expect us to invest wisely. We are dealing with taxpayers' money here. That's why we are transforming services and not standing still, to drive efficiencies and keep costs under control. We're using technology and AI to improve our business support. We're investing predominantly in early help and prevention, so we only get the kids who really need it coming to us for that higher need of support. This will help reduce costly interventions further down the line. We're shaping the market now, working with GM partners as well across Greater Manchester. And we're expanding on and continuing. We're glad to see the national government are picking up on this drive for foster caring and kinship carers to ensure that we don't have a reliance on external placements. These changes means now that we are closer than ever about to bringing our budget in line with what we are budgeted each year. So we're bringing that deficit down. Despite national pressures, we are doing the hard work, and it's thanks to the team behind Children's Services who are doing that, the professionals, the directors as well. Children's Services is quite frankly one of the most challenging areas of any council. I only found out today that I'm legally responsible as well and can go to jail as well. It's the only job that it's the only cabinet role that comes with a major kind of written in national legislation statutory duty. So I'm on my best guard now. But demand continues to grow nationally, and we're not immune to that, as I keep saying. Costs have risen, but we are working collaboratively, we're working in partnership, not just here in Wigan, but across Greater Manchester, partly into Merseyside, you can argue as well, to make sure that we are taking a targeted approach to keep costs under control. The key is investing early, protecting children, supporting families, and delivering value for residents. So the council puts children first, supports families, and delivers for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And so Councillor Anderton's just talked about children and young families and how important it is, and the fact that there's a common thread through what we're talking about today is achieving these services with the lowest council tax, certainly regionally, and even one of the lowest nationally. But of course, I have the responsibility for adult social care and health. And in that children and families is very important, because children grow up and become adults. And so those people who have special educational needs or disabilities end up in adult services. And I think, you know, we've always taken seriously the position for adult social services and health. Financially, and the financial challenges we've faced, adult social care is the largest single expenditure of this council, taking up 36 to 37% of the total council spend is on adult social care. Clearly then it is significant at times of financial challenge, and that taking up well over a third of the council's expenditure, that we have at times of financial challenge to look at the way we provide adult social care. And over a period of the last 12 to 14 years, we've worked significantly to address the problem, to change the way we work, to develop a new way of working here, to promote prevention and early intervention for people, and to enable people to live much better lives at less cost. And I'm very proud of what we've achieved over the last 12 to 14 years, because that's been achieved all within, despite the financial challenges, having a balanced budget for adult social care. One of the very few councils in the country that managed to achieve that. And certainly in terms of improvement of services and maintaining sustainability of local services, that's really important, because we find many councils are facing a situation where providers are handing contracts back, unable to fulfil their contracts, which brings about change and difficulties in the structure, with a provider handing back a contract to the council that they then have to look for alternative provisions to provide. We have had no provider who's handed back a contract to the council, certainly in the last 12 months, couple of years. We've managed to maintain the sustainability of the local market. We've also managed to significantly improve quality. And certainly over the last 12 months, 2 years, the proportion of care homes and community services rated outstanding or good by CQC in this borough now stands at 95%, which is a significant improvement on the situation 5 to 10 years ago. Not only is it significant improvement, it's the highest level of outstanding and good CQC rated services not only in Greater Manchester, not only in the North West, but it is in the top 10 of quality services provided in the whole of the country. And that's been done by working differently with providers, by working in a collaborative way, and promoting ethical providers to provide services for people within our borough who require those adult social care services. And another thing we've done, and I think Councillor Gamble's referred to it, is recognising that our population is the fastest ageing population in Greater Manchester, of course, which is creating increased demand on services, is we've invested in extra care housing to a significant amount, to the extent that now we have more than double the number of extra care housing facilities that we had 5 years ago. 130% increase in that extra care housing. And we've invested year on year on that. And in previous years, I talked about the development of Eldervale, the development of Wharfdale in Lee. And in 2025, we saw the development of Meadowview Court, a brand new 32 apartments in Shevington, providing extra care for older people. Despite the fact that at the time when that school shut in Shevington, former opposition councillors were accusing us of selling it off to developers, when we were saying, no, we want to provide opportunities for people who are ageing to live in extra care housing, to maintain their independence. We were told we were lying and all that. But I'm pleased to say that in 2025, that state-of-the-art extra care facility was built and opened in Shevington. And so the reason for having extra care housing, or that expansion in extra care housing, is to enable people, older people living in the borough, to live independently with support in their own accommodation for as long as possible. And similarly, we've worked with local partners to keep expanding our specialist purpose-built supported living within housing within the borough. And we've seen many brand new builds in terms of Mayfield, Marigold Lodge, Hindle Lodge, and a range of others. Brand new build, high quality facilities that have provided supported living for people with learning disability and autism. And in fact, the latest one was opened at Stubshaw Cross, Stubshaw Gardens, 14 apartments for people with learning disability or complex needs who need that support in housing. And personally, I've seen the difference that can make to people. One of the residents, it's 14 places, 14 apartments, one of the people who's moved into Stubshaw Gardens, who needs that supported housing because of complex needs, actually, in making her life better, one of the real things that is really important to her is that her mum lives in the care home next door to Stubshaw Gardens. So the opportunity to move into a supported living situation from where she was to actually a site that is brand new build, specialist provision, and right next door to the care home that her mother's in, has really changed her life. So actually really doing things that enable people's lives to be much better. And I'm proud to say that in terms of people with a learning disability, autism, this borough is #1 in the country. We are the highest authority in the country for the proportion of young adults with a learning disability who are being supported in their own home or with family in the whole of the country. Many of these people would previously have been in care home or residential settings. We are now the highest in the country for having people with a learning disability living in their own accommodation or with family. It's somewhere in the region 97%. And we continue to work with unpaid carers as well. So this last year, we opened a new respite facility as part of the commitments we've made to strengthen our support for unpaid carers. And we've had the launch of the all-age Wigan Carers strategy. In fact, it's not only the respite centre. I was recently at a carers strategy group, and I think 2 sets of unpaid carers have actually taken advantage of visiting or spending a weekend at Lower Bank, which is one of our facilities that we own, and the opportunity to go up into the Lake District to Lower Bank and have that opportunity of a breakaway has been fantastic, and 2 groups have recently been. So opening up a range of opportunities for unpaid carers, because unpaid carers are really important in terms of it's estimated there are something like 34,000 unpaid carers within this borough. People do it because they love or care for the person they're caring for, but I think we have to recognise the tremendous work they do in minimising demand on services because of what they provide, but they do it because they love the person that they're providing care for, and it's important that we give them every opportunity to get a break from that, to be able to cope with the stresses and pressures that are tied up in engaging in that activity. And the other issue is reablement. Very early days, we had a handful of staff working in reablement. That's now 120 staff working in reablement, enabling people to develop the skills and remain independent for as long as possible. And that early intervention, when people come out of hospital or when people have been referred by community or GP to get reablement, means 97% of people who get reablement do not have any ongoing care, formal care requirements. So it's helping people to maintain their independence, to live at home and live as long as possible and regain the skills they've lost. And so we've also led by example, because part of being able to live independently is opportunities to have safe use of new technology. And new technology is very helpful. And at Ancliffe Bungalow, we have actually a bungalow there that is set up with all the latest modern technology that can help and assist people to live independently using new technology. And that's not only used by the council, but it's used by the NHS, it's used by unpaid carers. It's a range of opportunities for people to see what modern technology can do in terms of improving people's independence and care experience. And recently, we've launched a new virtual assistant, which is enabling people to access information that they need about the help and support that's available to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that is helping people, and it's very easy to use, it's very user-friendly, it can be used at any time, and it can give people advice and help and support as to what is available to them. And also working very closely with, I think it's been outlined earlier about Agilicis moving into that building across the road, working with Agilicis, and so working with a local company, Community Wealth Building, the company's based here, they moved the head office here, and working with them to develop tools which have helped our social work staff spend less time on the computers and more time being able to speak to people in their own homes, in their own house, to have interviews with people and assess their needs, and being in people's living rooms, talking to them, dealing with them, setting up the care plans, a real opportunity. And so a lot of the stuff that's been developed around giving social work staff the opportunity to spend less time with the computer and in the office and more time with people is having a huge impact. We've also committed to working very closely with health partners on some of the work that the Healthier Wigan Partnership have done, where Hospital Council and other partners come together, has been very successful. And when we set up the transfer of care hub at the hospital, because of all the issues about discharge and people being stuck in hospitals, we've managed to ensure that more people can return home safely from hospital. Many authorities have waiting lists for home care. We've never had a waiting list here for home care because of our relationship with ethical providers and ethical provision that we have in the recommission of home care many years ago now, but actually working to ensure that people can return home as soon as possible. And what that has managed to achieve is an estimated 1,500 less admissions to hospital, and it has also reduced the average time that someone needing adult social care stays in hospital by 2 days. So we're reducing the amount that people need to stay in hospital, but we're also reducing the number of hospital admissions. Because, bed blocking or whatever they want to call it, where they were saying that people are in hospital, actually hospital admission avoidance is probably easier than dealing with somebody who's been in hospital and then needs to come out. So looking forward, in this budget for the next year, what are we intending to do? So I think most people in this chamber will know, and I mentioned it last time, that the Care Quality Commission were inspecting all 153 adult social care services across the country. And they did that over 2024 and 2025. So in December 25, when we had our inspection, we were one of the last ones to be inspected. We've still not had the outcome of the inspection, and I am expecting it within a week or two now. Of course, having had the inspection, it goes through a process. CQC have sent a team in, and we had a very experienced team. We had the Deputy Director of the CQC. We had an ex-president of the Association of Directors of Adult Social Care, and a number of very experienced staff who had done, over that 2-year period, 20 or 30 inspections each. So they were well experienced and had set a baseline, if you like, of what they had seen over that time. The feedback that I got from them was extremely good, and it was nothing less than I would expect. So I await the outcome and the result with great expectation. And I'm sure that, you know, I think we're one of the last few to get our inspection result. And I just think back about everything we've done over the years and everything we've done now, the motivation of our staff, the innovation of our staff, the things that we've done around prevention and early intervention. And many authorities have come to see us, and I've been to other authorities. And I've always said, I think I've got the best adult social care team in the country. Well, I'm hoping that CQC think that as well, but we'll wait and see. But I really am optimistic. In being optimistic, I have to recognise that nearly 150, well, all 153 have been inspected now, and results have been declared for well over 100, 140. In the country, there are only 3 outstandings. There's only 3 outstandings in the country, and they're all in London or out of London. Camden, Kensington and Chelsea, and Barking and Dagenham are the only ones that are outstanding. CQC have a way of assessing the inspection and reports. It goes through an algorithm. It then goes through a committee that look at and ensure that it's right. And they measure services from 0 to 100. 0 to 38 is inadequate, 38 to 62 requires improvement, 62 to 87 is good, and 87 to 100 is outstanding. So like I said, there's 3 London councils that have got outstanding. They've crept over to 89, and I'm hoping we can creep over that 87 barrier into outstanding as well, but we'll wait and see. But I think whatever it is, it will certainly be in the high 80s. I think we can be extremely proud of the staff that we have in adult social care that work in this borough. But having said that, we're not prepared to stop now. We still continue trying to improve. And that's why in this budget this year, the one that we're putting forward tonight, that the leader's putting forward tonight, will really enable us and support us to go from strength to strength. So for 26-27, including in the budget, we're investing £6.6 million into ensuring that we continue quality and sustainability of the local market. And part of that encouragement of sustainability is a few years ago, we included a commitment to pay everybody, all 9,000 people working in social care, whether they work directly for the council, whether they're in a commission service, or whether they're receiving a direct payment. Everybody working in adult social care will get real living wage as a minimum, regardless of age. And we will continue that this year to ensure that will happen. And not only will it be regardless of age, so that will continue. So there's no age range, real living wage for everybody who's working in adult social care. That partly helps us maintain sustainability, because one of the things it's brought us is the lowest turnover of staff in the country. I think the turnover of staff in adult social care in this borough is about 3 to 5%, whereas nationally it's about 17%. Why? We're paying real living wage. 95% of the care facilities are rated good or outstanding by CQC, so they're working in high quality services, providing a good service and receiving the real living wage regardless of age. They're also getting access to training that we're providing and working closely with Wigan and Leigh College and Edgehill University, the opportunity to develop that opportunity for younger people to get into a health and care setting. Because actually, in order to meet the demand in adult social care over the next 10 to 15 years, we need 1 in every 5 young people in Wigan to go and work in health and social care. So the opportunity to develop that workforce plan. And of course, it helps in community wealth building. The recommission of home care, and like I say, home care has no waiting list. So there is no waiting list. You can receive home care the same day that your assessors need in it. But what that's done is bring about community wealth building. And when we recommissioned home care on the basis of localities, one of the outcomes that perhaps we hadn't intended or realised was that by localising commissioning of home care, 41% of visits are now done by walking or cycling. So one, not only does that have an impact on our quality, it also has an impact on the health of the staff because they're walking and cycling to visits. 86% of staff in home care live in the locality where they're providing the service. So they know the local community. They can connect people with community. They probably know people. And the interesting thing is over 50% of the staff are under 30. And you wonder why? Well, you don't need to own a car and you don't need to be able to drive to work in there. So real opportunities about developing opportunities for local people. And that increased reward and recognition of people working in adult social care is something that is really important for us in developing that need to meet the demands on, or the future demands that are going to be coming. Another thing that we're developing this year as part of this budget is with 1 in 5 adults in the UK affected by hearing loss and over 1,600 people in this borough formally registered with a certificate of visual impairment, and of course people who have hearing difficulties, people, deaf people, people with visual impairment. I'm also pleased to say that we're planning to expand the dedicated sensory support officer and the sensory support team in social care, including deepening our work with partners and people with lived experience. And we're also planning, and this is in relation to something that Councillor Anderson was talking about, because as I said, it's very important about children and young people, but children and young people grow up to be adults and come on to adult social care. And so investing in a high-performing, multidisciplinary transition support team to further improve our support offered to young people who are coming into adulthood and their family care needs when they're approaching the age of 18 is really important. And this year's budget enables us to really develop that team and do much more work. And we will continue to lead the way in maximising the potential of technology in adult social care. And like I said, the opportunity to work closely with Agilysys, who are now based in the borough, right across the road from us, is a real opportunity. And we're seeing at the leading edge of developing technology in adult social care. And so we can keep reforming our menu of support to help more people to live well and to remain independent in their own homes for longer, including things like falls prevention. Falls prevention technology can help you prevent people falling or recognising when people are going to fall. And the budget that's been put forward tonight, underpinned by our commitment to investing in prevention and population health improvements, will bring about that real ability to maintain, despite financial challenge, a balanced budget. And we'll continue to prioritise prevention investment in areas which include child health, mental health, and the capacity of our local voluntary community and faith sector, because they are really important, based in the community, based in parts of our borough where the expected and the opportunity to ensure the sustainability of the voluntary sector and what it does is a real opportunity. So we'll also be expanding our Health Development Officer initiative. If you remember during COVID, the leisure centres were closed and we redeployed some of the trainers in the leisure centres into adult social care. And what we found was that by working, they were working with many in our supported living, in our housing with extra care facilities, giving advice on health improvement, physical activity, nutrition, and we brought about a real improvement in the health of people with a learning disability, because significant health inequalities were suffered by people with learning disabilities or older people. And that actually had a real impact in addressing health inequalities, and we're going to increase that facility to ensure that we can have dedicated wellbeing support into our care settings to help prevent those inequalities, and that can be experienced by those people living in that more. You're living with a learning disability, people die earlier, people are ill earlier. There's a real opportunity to improve the people of health. So this budget will see us being able to make significant improvements on what already I feel is, if not good, if not outstanding, it's certainly an extremely good service. And we'll wait and see what the CQC finally say. And like I say, I'm very hopeful that they'll recognise the tremendous work that's gone in over the last 12 to 14 years, and certainly over the last year or two. Thank you.
Is the motion to approve the recommendation seconded?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Raymond, would you like to speak now or reserve your right?
I would reserve the right to speak later on.
Colleagues, we'll take a comfort break now. Could you be back at 8:10, please? Thank you. Please be seated. Members, due to the break in the meeting, I would now like to advise you that the new guillotine for the meeting is 10:15. Thank you. I now invite the Leader of the Majority Opposition Group to speak on the budget. Councillor Gerard, you now have the opportunity to speak on the budget should you wish. Before we move to any amendments, please note this is your opportunity to speak on the budget, not your proposed amendment to the budget. That will come shortly. Councillor Gerard, do you wish to speak on the budget? Yes? You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let me begin by thanking Sarah Johnson and all of the finance officers for the work that has gone into presenting a technically balanced budget for Wigan Council. Officers have done their job professionally, diligently and in extremely difficult circumstances, and that deserves recognition. But tonight it's not about spreadsheets, it's about choices, political choices. This administration is asking residents to accept a 4.99% council tax rise that is split up between 2.99 on the general rate and 2% for adult social care. So for a Band D household, that means a bill of £2,151.54. Let's call it what it is. It's a near 5% tax rise, just for the council tax payers, not the rent payers as well. You've got another tax rise on top of that. At a time when families are juggling food bills, energy costs, rent and mortgage increases and stagnant wages, this Labour-led council, backed by a Labour government, has chosen to take the maximum increase available. And residents will not forget that less than 2 years ago, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said there would not a penny more on council tax. Not a penny more. Yet, here we are. This is not a penny more. This is every penny you're allowed and then some more on top of that. In 12 months, council tax has gone up, in two budgets, 10.9%. The reality is that local taxpayers are once again being used as this Treasury's shock absorber when national government squeezes funding settlements and builds in assumptions that council will raise tax locally, and it is working people who are left to plug the gap. And this Labour administration has accepted that model without protest. We are told that this is unavoidable, that demand pressures leave no alternatives. But let's examine some of those pressures more closely, especially in housing. The housing revenue account shows mounting repair costs, and of course tenants deserve safe and decent homes. But when reactive repairs spiral and long-term asset management falls behind, cost escalates, delay today becomes expense tomorrow. But I have to thank Councillor Gambles, the work she's been putting in on that. We are seeing some kind of redress on that. But at the same time, void properties, homes that should be generating rent, are still standing empty, in my opinion, and probably and a lot of others, for far too long. Every week, a council house sits vacant in is lost income. Lost income that could be funding repairs, improvements, or easing pressure on the system. Empty homes means empty revenue. Empty revenue means higher pressure. And higher pressure too often means higher taxes. That is not just an housing issue, it's a financial management issue. Then there is borrowing, a growing capital programme funded through the increase in debt. Investment is important, but debt is not free money. Borrow today, repay tomorrow. And as interest costs rise, future budgets become tighter, not looser. This is the danger of council tax rise today, more borrowing tomorrow and less flexibility the year after that. Nearly 5% more on council tax, rising house costs, increasing borrowing commitments. This budget avoids an immediate crisis, but does not provide long-term stability. Nearly £200 million over the next 3 years. This is the trajectory residents are being asked to accept. And as leader of the opposition at the moment, I believe we must challenge that idea, that the maximum tax rise is simply the going rate. It may be permitted, but that does not make it painless. Council tax is not based on ability to pay, it is pensioners just above the benefit thresholds, it is working families who do not qualify for support, and it is small households as hard as large ones. It is a blunt instrument. And when Labour nationally promises restraint, but locally delivers rises, public trust is strained. We will continue to scrutinising housing performance, void turnaround times, repair management and borrowing levels. We will continue to press for financial discipline alongside compassion. And we will continue to argue that residents should not always be the first port of call when budgets tighten, because balancing the books is essential, but so is protecting the people who pay them. Tonight, we thank the officers for delivering a balanced budget, but we do not accept that a near 5% tax rise is the only story that could have been told tonight. Residents deserve better than the maximum allowed. They deserve value, efficiency and honesty. And I would like, Madam Mayor, just pick up a few points that were raised by Cabinet members in the presentation. I've got to say, Keith, that was remarkable. And I can't wait to skip past that on YouTube. That may take me 5 minutes. But all jokes aside, they were very good and very interesting. Leader, you said financial challenges. We're now into the second year of a Labour government. We were promised the land of milk and honey in July 24. It's a fair different story to be told. Wigan and Lee projects and Ashton, other Tonians must be overjoyed by I keep hearing this news. And I was a little bit saddened not to hear an announcement that sadly we lost a great man from the Lee borough, Trevor Burton, that maybe a stand, the LSV could have been named after Trevor Burton, especially with all the work that he put into that, to deliver that. Councillor Raymond, extreme pressures, as again, is a Labour government. Councillor Prescott, great work on the roads, on the potholes, but on the environment, I would have liked to have heard an update on the 25,000 tonne dump that is, and how much that is going to cost on this budget. That's about it, really. We'll let Councillor Washington speak on this if he wants to. But again, thanks to the officers, and thanks for listening to me. Thank you.
We have received an amendment to the recommendations in the report prior to the 12 p.m. deadline yesterday from the leader of the Community Independent Alliance Group, Councillor Gerrard, which has been seconded by Councillor Hodgkinson. Can the Section 151 officer, Sarah Johnston, confirm that this amendment leads to a balanced budget? Thank you. Councillor Gerrard, could you now introduce your amendment, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a second. So again, I don't want to start with spreadsheets and technical language on this amendment tonight, because that's not what residents stop us and tell us about in the street. They talk about the mess at the end of their road. They talk about the broken benches that have been left for months. They talk about the same patch of area that gets fly tipping, that keeps coming back, and no one properly deals with it. They talk about town centres that just feel worn down and forgotten, unless you're in Wigan and Lee and Ashton, of course. But that's what this amendment is about. We are proposing that Wigan Council allocate £1 million from the reserves to create a one-off Pride in Place fund. Money distributed fairly across every ward to clean up grot spots, and that would work out around about £40,000 per ward. Much needed money for much needed renovation. This will be cleaning up grot spots, deep clean neglected areas, tackle persistent fly tipping and litter areas, and renew tie street furniture and signage. This isn't about vanity projects, it's about getting the basics right, because clean streets and well-maintained neighbourhoods matter. They reduce antisocial behaviour, that's a well-known fact. They discourage third dumping and vandalism. They improve mental well-being, because people feel better living in places that look cared for. They support small local business who rely on decent footfall, and they restore something that's been slipping away in too many areas: pride. Neglect sends a message. It says no one cares. And when people think no one cares, standards drop even further. Pride in Place sends the opposite message. Now, I know Councillor Raymond mentioned about and Councillor Prescott about the waste and stuff like that, but this is getting down to the nitty-gritty and putting the gloss on some of what's been going on. In towns like Atherton, residents have watched investment after investment flow into Wigan and Lee, regeneration announcements, as we've heard again tonight, funding bids, new schemes. Meanwhile, Atherton and other towns of the ilk too often feel like it's expected to make do. People there see new developments approved, see pressure on local services, and told we must accept the loss of green space to meet targets. Targets driven by a Labour government and implemented by a Labour council. Yet they struggle to point meaningful reinvestment back into their own towns. We're told housing numbers are non-negotiable. We're told green spaces must go. We're told development is inevitable, but what do communities get back? Too often, very little. If residents are expected to accept change, growth and the loss of valued spaces, the very least they should see is visible reinvestment in places they live now. Cleaner streets, refurbished public spaces and signs that their town matters just as much as anywhere else in the borough. This amendment is modest, £1 million from reserves, a one-off sensible target, is not financially reckless and not structurally unsustainable. And I must remind the Council, last year, when a similar amendment was brought forward, the leader said he would instruct an audit into these concerns over streets furniture and stuff like that. That commitment was made in this chamber. Yet a year later, no audit has been carried out, no findings have been reported, and residents are still raising the same issues year on year. Warm words don't clean streets. Reviews that never materialise don't restore pride. Action does, and financial investment. The Pride in Place Fund would ensure that every ward benefits, not just the already prioritised areas. It would allow councillors to identify the worst grot spots, the most neglected ginnels and the most tired public spaces and actually do something about them. And I think we would all welcome that. It will go somewhere to correcting the growing sense that some towns are expected to accept development and decline in equal measure, while others see the bulk of investment. You can see my time's nearly up, so I'll get to the end. If we want residents to believe in this council, then we need to show that every community counts, not just in speeches, not just in strategy documents, but on the ground. Clean up the streets, fix what's broken, show towns like Atherton that they are not there on afterthought, and that is what Pride in Place represents. And I urge all members to support this amendment and not just toe the party line. This could mean £40,000 per ward over the next 12 months and see a real difference in your ward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is the amendment seconded? Councillor Hodgkinson, would you like to speak on the amendment?
Yes, please. Madam Mayor, I'm pleased to second this amendment. At its heart, this proposal is about restoring pride in our borough. Residents are not asking for grand projects or compromise strategies. They simply want to see clean streets, repaired benches, and the end of persistent fly tipping, and so much more. The proposed Pride in Place Fund is a fair and equal way to achieve that. A £1 million one-off allocation from reserves would allow every ward to address the issues that matters most to local people. The small but visible signs of neglect that have too often been overlooked. This is not about politics, it's about fairness and respect for every community across the borough. When people see that their surroundings are cared for, they feel valued, and the sense of pride spreads. Madam Mayor, this amendment is reasonable, balanced and practical. It sends the right message to every town and every resident matters equally. For those reasons, I am proud to second this amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Leader, do you accept the amendment, and can you please outline the reasons for your decision?
I find it quite ironic, really. I've just had one speech where he's telling us we're putting up council tax too much and you shouldn't do certain things without any alternative budget presented to us. And then in the same time, he wants us to take more money out of reserves. Can I just say, if you'd listened carefully, everything you touched on was presented by the Cabinet tonight in terms of improving the environment, of what we're doing with the environment, in terms of how we're investing money. And I find it quite ironic that up to 2 years ago, you had a Tory MP for a number of years, and yet you never raised it with them to get more funding. Well, if you did, they didn't do so good at it. All I can say is, Madam Mayor, all the issues that have been brought up in this amendment are covered, and is seriously covered in terms of how we spend the money across this borough. And I can quite understand you wanting to speak and represent the area where you're from. But the budget covers every area of this borough. And what I will say in that, Madam Mayor, a lot of the issues that have been brought up have been covered by Cabinet members tonight, and therefore I do not accept the amendment. Thank you.
As Councillor Gerard's amendment has not been accepted, I will now move to the vote on the amendment. And can I remind members to use the electronic voting system, as a recorded vote must be taken for this item. Members, please vote now, and please vote carefully for or against the amendment or an abstention. Thank you, everyone. The amendment is lost. As the proposed amendment has fallen, we are now back to the leader's original motion to approve the recommendations. Do any members wish to speak on the original motion? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak, and I think members will be pleased I've only got 5 minutes this year. I'm going to start by addressing some of the comments made by the portfolio holder for the communities, Councillor Ida. Now, it's great that he's turned around the leisure centres in the borough, but I've got a simple question for him. Why are our veterans still being charged to use these facilities when our neighbours in Bolton this week announced that all veterans will be getting free access to their gyms, as well as our neighbours in Bury also offer this service? And I think our veterans deserve the very best, and now that we've got them under financial controls, I'd like to see that being brought forward at a later date, because if they don't bring it forward, a Future Reform UK Council will. Now, that leads on to the wider question. What is the purpose of local governance? Now, over the past decade, we've seen council tax rise by over 50%. And with this latest 4.99% increase, Band A properties would have increased in that period to over £480 and Band D properties over £730. Now, despite this growing burden on our residents, frontline services have continued to decline year after year, even as the council's wage bill and workforce have grown. Now, during the same period, the council's wage bill has risen by 76%, from £116 million in 2015 to £204 million in 2025. The council now employs 1,066 more staff, an increase of 25% in the workforce, yet residents are seeing less delivery of frontline services, not more. Now it comes to the mid-term financial plan and forecast, with the assumption that continued council tax rises of 2.99% will occur, raising £4.8 million annually, alongside a 2% social care precept raising £3.2 million annually based on current tax base projections. Now, these assumptions should not be simply taken for granted over the next 3 years, and it's irresponsible because we cannot and should not anticipate the future voting intentions of members in a mid-term financial forecast. And Madam Mayor, we must not forget that we were promised not a penny more by a U-turn Starmer. Now, looking at the projected finances for this year, from the Treasury Management Report, it identifies the borrowing need for £106 million. And this is what we're voting on for tonight, okay? Spiralling debt due to poor decisions made by this Labour Council. So now projected gross debt forecasts show the scale of the problem we face as a council. Actual debt in 2025 was £488 million. Projected debt for this year, 2026, is estimated to be at £604 million, and in 2027, £672 million. This is not sustainable. And we mentioned tonight responsible leadership. Now, responsible leadership does not hide behind the fact that we set boundary limits to deflect and justify the industrial scale of borrowing and justifying it as being prudent, when in fact it is reckless. And who is going to pay for this spiralling debt? The answer is simple: our children and their children. And this is the common problem with socialism. They're very good at spending other people's money. Or maybe they've taken economic guidance from Gordon Brown or Rachel from Accounts. Now, once again, I return to the core question which I started with. What is the purpose of local governance? It's to deliver local services and to improve the lives of our residents, and this council is failing on a very simple mandate. So therefore, I cannot support this budget, Madam Mayor. However, it's not all doom and gloom. And going back to the blessing at the start of this meeting, there is hope. There is hope because on May the 7th, we have local elections. And on May the 7th, new councillors can be elected, and new councillors who will manage the finances of the tax base more responsibly. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I first of all just start with giving my thanks to a director that retired recently, Paul Barton. He was a true example of an old school director who truly believed that democracy started with elected councillors, and some of the work that he did in this council I think should be recognised. But going on to the budget today, I will be voting against the budget, and I will just say the very fact that amendments are no longer debated pretty much sums up this council, and I hope that there is big political change. But I can't lie and say that some stuff done by this council isn't good. Of course it is. But the problem is, just like councils up and down the country, we are facing black holes every single year. And it's not because of necessary decisions that just you have made, but with over £100 million this year being the shortfall, something radical needs to change. And I'm going to pinpoint a few areas of where this council really is going wrong, like many other councils, and how I think that it could be changed and turned around. Because if we carry on going like this, we're pretty much bankrupt. I've been saying it for years now that if this was a private company, it would have gone bust by now. So, first of all, as Councillor Cunliffe rightly says, between 70 to 80% of budgets are spent on adult health and social care. And there's many reasons for that: ageing population, the fact that we're a country that does give extra care to people, which none of us want to see left. So let's start with adult health and social care, seeing as it's the majority. What has changed over the years is that all the companies, well, we use private companies, where we used to do it all in-house. We employed our own carers, we had our own care homes. Now, everything is commissioned or given to contractors. These companies are there to make a profit. So if as a council we could run this service, breaking even or even losing a bit, to now having a private company that needs to make millions and millions of pounds, we're going to lose a fortune. It might seem easier, and it is going to be hard to reverse. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on day one. But if we are to start cutting by tens and tens of millions, which is needed, we need to start the process of bringing things back in-house. Like I said, we've got the care companies, we've got the care homes. That's just on adult health and social care. Let's take a look also at the repairs we do in our council houses. Again, we used to have all our own workforce. Now, we contract everything out. In one case, Madam Mayor, we actually commission all our plumbing work. They don't invoice us monthly. They give a one-off fee every single year. Now, seeing as they're not going to know how cold this winter's going to be, how many of the 20,000 homes boilers are going to break, they are going to, and I'm sure you'll all agree, they're going to go millions and millions over because they've got to be safe that they don't lose money. Well, how much more money is that going to cost us as a council rather than going back to employing our own people? Now, as I said, can't happen overnight, but we've got to start that process at some point. The delivery that we get off a lot of these contractors isn't good for the money we pay. I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, the company that we're using for the plumbing had one person on emergency call out during the winter. That's just not good enough, especially when we're paying these massive sums. Now, before the leader comes back at me and says about amendments, I'm sorry to bring on to the next point, we can't put an amendment in, leader. And I know, again, that's probably something you're not aware of, and I know you wouldn't do it personal, but the truth is, we get stopped at every single level. We have everything put in our way where we cannot get the information to be able to put in. When your cabinet put forward a budget, you have a draft given to you and you put your suggestions forward. We're told we've got to know every single cost of where it's come from, what department, before we can put an amendment in. Well, we can't do that unless we're given that information in the first place. So that's the reason we don't put an amendment in. And as we've just seen, it would get voted down without debate anyway. So, in finishing, Madam Mayor, the only way this council is going to change is if we admit that things aren't going smooth sailing. Unfortunately, on the update, if you can call it a budget update, let's be honest, and I guess it's your jobs, the majority of it was tapping ourselves on the back saying what a great job we're doing. Nothing's going to change if we don't admit that there's faults. I don't solely blame this council because this is a national thing, but the truth is it's only this council that can change anything. Nothing else is going to change. So for them reasons, Madam Mayor, I'll be voting against the budget because I see no improvement on the spends that are going up and the
Councillor
money
Jones,
borrowed.
your time is up.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Pat Draper.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for saying Councillor Pat Draper. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak on the budget today, 26 to 27. In this budget that the Cabinet has already passed, and the finance team, and via Councillor Raymond, they are stating it's a balanced budget. But the reality is reserves are being used, and in the next 3 years, as you are going to be in serious trouble. This council is in crisis. Children's services, adult social care services are in desperate need of funding. You are stretched to the limit in both care of the patients, the clients and the staff are all under extreme pressure, trying to deliver council services which should always be provided public services. This budget was approved at Cabinet meeting on the 23rd of February 2026, which I attended personally. I was actually watching from the gallery. The meeting covered the budget. It lasted less than 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes. 4 questions was asked only from the Cabinet members. 7 were present. It was passed. That said it all. When other councillors debate for hours, let's see how many Labour councillors speak and vote. All we've seen so far is Cabinet members speaking how good they are at their job and how well they're doing. This is a significant increase of 4.99%, comprising of 2.99% general tax rises and 2% adult social care services. That is their care precept. The budget focuses on sustainability and includes flexible use of capital receipt strategy. I had to look that up actually. To balance finances. In other words, it allows local authorities in England extended up till 2030 to use its capital receipts from assets sales to fund revenue costs of projects that generate ongoing permanent savings or transformation. This could be redundancy or system restructuring costs, providing they reduce future revenue demands. I think we all know what that means. There has been a 4.8% increase in council-rated rent and garages, increases which I voted against at the last meeting, which I give reasons for. I'm not going to waste your time going through all that again. But most of the Labour councillors sat in the chamber voted for the increase, which a normal, shall we say, average rent is about £98.39 and it's going to rise to £103.11, which equates to £5.38 per week increase. In council tax as well. I spoke in detail about in the last meeting, the housing revenue account faces pressures of approximately 6.5 million for 26 and 27, requiring this council to go into reserves. There is a national and local housing crisis. We all know that. Stop the right to buy. The Labour government should be doing that. It would help this council and every other council in the country. Now, the council gets all of the receipts from sales of council housing, but we are 6.5 million in deficit. Wigan Council received 7 million from this Labour government, part of the 600 million recovery grant for 25-26 financial year, to help councils to manage the budget pressures and support services alongside the total government package of £141.2 million in reserves. This council has previously assessed other funding, such as the £1.5 million UK shared Prosperity Fund in 2022 and 2023, and £16 million from the Future High Street Fund in 2021. I assume this was for the galleries, but I have no idea, so you can answer that. This was under the Tories. Where all has this money gone? Why do we face a 7 million black hole? We have an housing crisis. We have the HRA needs 6.7 million for 26 and 27. All our public service is where has the money gone?
Councillor Draper, your time is up. Thank you. Councillor O'Byrne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for letting me speak. I just want to respond really to Councillor Reid's comments on raising revenue in libraries, which is great, some of the things that you're doing. But what I can't understand is, I mean, I spent many years in libraries and we raised quite a bit of revenue from printing, from photocopying, from book reservations. Now, there's no opportunity to do that anymore. There's no cash in libraries, there's no card machines. So we've lost that revenue. People can have 5 colour-free and 10 black and white, but people used to come in and photocopy 100 things. So we're giving a poorer service. If you want to get something photocopied, you go to the library, but you can only have 5 copies, and we're losing all, really, it was quite a few thousand that we used to get each year. I just wondered why that had gone ahead. I think that's another way to get revenue back. Where else can you get things photocopied? You go to your local library. A lot of people don't have printers. That's just a comment I wanted to make about raising revenue.
Councillor Braley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for letting me speak. Councillor Molyneux, you've said it's another balanced budget again. Looking through these figures, the last chief executive ran the business of senior management with 27 officers. This new chief executive got now 31. So that's an increase of 4 directors, which is equivalent to another £500,000 in wages. So, you know, if I run 6 departments, we all know every council's top heavy, and it really needs looking into this. Hopefully in May, we might get the opportunity. Right. Money's invested. Last year, you spent £110 million on we don't know what. Because I've never got the answers. Councillor Raymond never give it me. How's you, Raymond? Right. So we've got left, what, 41 million, but we can't find it. It's not in these accounts. But further on down the page, I found that investments, banks, £145 million. Now, is it true money in the bank, or are they just figment of your imagination figures? Because how can you put the money back when you're struggling? You're in the black. Right. Building Society investments, 50 million. So that's £195 million investments. I'd like a proper update on this because, as Councillor Jones said, we don't get the information. We have to beg, steal and borrow it for sort it out, for speak at these chambers.
They borrow it.
Oh, they borrow it, yeah. Right, housing, Sue Gamble's housing revenue. £117 million income. But yet, year 26-27, a loss of 3.2 million. 27 to 28, 3 million lost. 28 to 29, £1.9 million lost. If we're going to lose all this, and you're predicting this, Councillor Molyneux, why are we employing these people? What is actually going on? Do you not know how to balance your books? Do you run your household like this? Because I'll tell you what, you'd go bankrupt in a week. Right. Page 2. Right. Wigan Metropolitan Investment Limited and Development Company. There's £9 million stuck in that, and I've still not got the information from legal how they've set this up, because that's who they've told me set the account up. And where did the money come from? Legal's got no money. They work for us. So they've took public money to set up this business. and I want the answers. Right. Right, also, Councillor Reader, why have you waived £250,000 of investment at the Three Sisters? I'm sick of asking you. I've been asking you this for 6 months now, and you've not replied and given me an answer. I want some straight answers, right? AOL, here we go, AOL. £44 million been allocated from the Lottery Fund or Heritage Fund or whatever. Someone has replaced the windows, 153 windows, with like oak materials, which has been painted. Now, 200 years ago when it was first built, there was no such thing as gloss paint, and you have to bring the building back up to its original condition. So I suggest you get back in touch with this contractor and get them out there and get them to do a proper job. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me leave to speak. Despite all the exchanges tonight, I'm quite satisfied that this council now does have a balanced budget. And I serve on the audit committee, and I've lost count of how many years I've served on it. So I get a good insight into how our officers work, and I'm satisfied that we have a first-class set of officers in the finance department. And more than that, I would commend to every councillor that our default position should be to support officers at all times, wherever possible. There are times when I detect a lack of respect. I mean, like the amendment tonight, did they think that the council aren't controlling their reserves properly? Because I'm sure that they are. And, you know, I think there's some easy contrasts to be drawn with other local authorities. We neighbour Lancashire County Council. They promised to cut their council tax, but they still intend to have a rise, and they've made £65 million worth of cuts to local services. It may be why their roads are so potholed. They have one of the worst reputations in the country, nearly as many potholes as there are on the moon, I believe. Another council is Worcestershire County. They said they would cut council tax. They've put it up by 9%. Then there's Kent. Kent declared by Nigel Farage to be Reform's flagship local authority. And that's a flagship from about 10 local authorities. They appointed one of their councillors to search for cuts, and they paid him £28,000 to find cuts. And after months of searching for them, he had to admit that he hadn't found a single cut yet. Madam Mayor, has the clock stopped?
Excuse me.
Has the clock stopped?
What's your point of order?
Well, right, he's not speaking on our budget. He's talking about another local authority. You know, it's not what the agenda says. We're talking about our budget. I'm sorry, Michael. You know what I mean? But
Thank you. That's not a point of order. Thank you, Councillor Brearley. Please carry.
I'm drawing contrasts between the way we do things and other councils do things. And I think we do them a lot better, and I think it's a fair point to make. We aren't cutting children's services as they are in Worcester. Kent are cutting children's transport for those with special educational needs. And I'd like to say something about the reserves. I'm not sure that everybody in here understands what the reserves are. It's perhaps a misleading term, but it is used up and down the country throughout local government, and it's used by the major consultancy firms, so it's standard. Might be a bit misleading, but standard. But the thing about reserves is they can't normally be spent. Nearly all of our reserves we can't spend because they are for a specific project or cause or whatever you want to call it. Now, we are spending reserves on Hayhall because that's what they were given to us for, and on the Fettlers Centre. When I was reading up for audit meeting, the last meeting, I read something that surprised me, but I didn't reckon that I'd need to refer to it. I'm pretty sure from memory that it stated that of our reserves, there's more than 240 million and less than 245 million of reserves that we just cannot spend. Right, I see that I'm at the end of my time, so I'll close it there. Thank you for listening to me.
Councillor Raymond, as you reserve your right to speak until the end of the debate, do you wish... Oh, beg your pardon, beg your pardon. Councillor Walker, I invite you to speak.
Thank you. Two or three little things that perhaps newish councillors aren't aware of. When we talk about voids in housing, there's something called the Housing Revenue Account. And that means that anything that's the cost of housing can't go on the rates. It has to come out the Housing Revenue Account, which is the rents. So when you're telling us about these wonderful savings, so I'm sorry, are you trying to make a point? All right, so I'll carry on. So I just want to make that simple point. Gentleman there on the front row told...
Oh, excuse me, Councillor Walker.
Yes.
Councillor Brealey. What?
He's misrepresenting us because the revenue from the housing gets spent on housing on its own. Don't come from anywhere else.
Thank you.
That's what I've always been told.
What I've just said.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
Yeah, so where's your reserves come from?
You got it absolutely.
Where's your reserves come from, Fred?
Excuse me. It's not a point of personal explanation. Please carry on.
Thank you. Just moving on a second. So we were told how wages had gone up considerably. But we just heard how we're bringing services in-house. When you take them off a contractor, there's no wages involved, just what they charge you. And lo and behold, when we bring it in-house, it becomes wages. And that simple point that was made by your colleague next to you was bring it in-house and save money. So one or other of you hasn't got it right. But I just want to point out that inconsistency, because it is important, because if we're not singing off the same hymn sheet, it destroys the point of the debate, and it must be confusing for the people upstairs who won't know the intricacies of our budget. The other thing that I found amazing was that the two Atherton councillors forgot to mention that they've got $500,000 coming through of money for Atherton that they know all about and that are there because of help from our Labour MP, but also from our officers working very hard at a bid. But so when they wanted that £1 million, they were ignoring the $500,000 that's coming to Atherton. And I just think that that was a little unkind to everybody else who might not know about that.
Councillor Moffat. Oh, sorry. Councillor Gerrard, sorry.
I know Councillor Walker may not have fully grasped what we're saying. The £1 million was for every single ward in the borough.
Oh,
Yeah, that's for...
will you get an extra £500,000 on top?
They've definitely misunderstood
No,
it.
sorry.
Councillor Walker,
Excuse
we
me.
know exactly what that is. It's
Excuse
not £500,000.
me,
It's
Councillor
split
Gerrard.
between God knows
Councillor
how many different
Gerrard,
districts.
we're not having conversations across the chamber. Will
Okay,
you
Madam
please
Mayor, sorry about that,
address
but I
the
think
chair?
Councillor Walker
Thank
has
you.
done a bit of a...
Thank you.
He's not on the right...
Councillor Reedy, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, can I thank Councillor Watson that he never gives up, so I've got to give him that one. Okay. But can I say, we went through this scenario and the other councils, I can't remember what your name, Bury was one of them. I'm sure when we've looked in that, it wasn't the best move they ever made. Now, when we go back to this, for people who weren't in the chamber a while ago, there was a kind of, if you like, we didn't know the total figure of how many that people could be, and the figure came out, it could be millions. But what I would say, and I mean, you close this, and when you say, when Reform take over, you'll be doing this. Can I just say then, other groups around, so injured police officers, injured firefighters, young carers, volunteers in the community, do we give all them free passes within the gyms? Because that's what you're saying, you would give it to veterans. Can I tell you that? If we did all that, our gyms would be closed in 12 months. So if we wanted to go down that road, don't just make it to one group, although I have lots of sympathy with veterans. We've got lots of other groups as well who would be qualified for that. So I think we was quite reasonable at what we did, and we can't share that out. Three Sisters, Bob. I didn't write 250 grand off. You've had the answers from officers many, many times. Yes, you have. I've seen the copies of it. Listen, I'm not arguing with you over here. I'm talking now. You're supposed to be quiet. I never interfere with you.
Can we just address the chair, please, when
Thank
we're
you.
speaking?
No problem. Can I say that you've had the answers and then you respond by saying, I've not responded to you? Can I just say, I've worked with many opposition in this chamber. I'm always amicable and I will always go out and do it. One of Bob's emails to me was, if you don't respond to my email, I will report you to the police. Well, if that's so, I didn't respond to it. I'm still waiting for the police. But there we are. I didn't write it off. You've had the answers. I think the problem is you don't like the answer, but that's it. Talking about the printers, Maureen, and I did ask this question, to be quite honest, and if you think about it, and you worked in libraries, some people would come in, and I've seen this, who couldn't afford to pay, so naturally staff would be amenable to do that. And we all know why things are going cashless is the amount of money it costs to kind of distribute cash around. But if you think about we're offering a free service now, because we're getting money through the locker service, through private, I think that's a really good deal for our customers out there, that they've got that free printing section. So, well, you can't do it all. You know what I mean? It's one of them, isn't it? Yeah, you know, we'd all love to do that. AR, Bob, can I go on to the AR? I was at AR when they were doing the window frames, because they had a joiner inside there making the frames. Don't forget, this is grade 2 listed building. It's got to fit whatever's in that kind of criteria. If it's not, then it will be wrong, because when it comes to be inspected by the grade 2 inspector, he's not going to say, oh, well, Chris said it was all right, or Bob said. They'll have a certain criteria. And if it's not right, we'll be out there with our paint stripper taking that white paint off them oak things. But I'm telling you now, that will be fitting the description. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Moffat, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to speak. I wasn't going to this evening, but I feel the right to reply to some of the comments that have been made. In comparison to other councils, first and foremost, it's never been reform policy to offer reduction in council tax. That's never been said. It's a myth, and if you watch alternative media, other than mainstream media, you'll see that's the case. That's never been a reform policy. Secondly, when it comes to the council that you referred to previously in Lancashire, they inherited an absolute mess when it came to potholes. They've reduced it by 70% since they came into power. When we talk about consultants' fees being a waste of money, They cancelled net zero on day one. And in day one, they saved £150,000 because the consultants that were brought in to tick the boxes that suggested they were complying with net zero cost £150,000. You talk about waste of money, there's one right there. Kent County Council have made savings of over £300 million in their first year. £300 million worth of savings. That would wipe our debt off overnight. The average increase across the 10 councils that we operate right now, the average is the lowest in the country. It's lower than the average of the rest of the councils across the country. The final thing that I will say, I'm self-employed, as some of you are. I know the comment's been made a number of times about the ballooning costs here, and if this was a business, it would be liquidated, it would be out of business. What I see is £106 million worth of further lending. You sit and justify to each other. You pat each other on the back and tell each other, what a great job you're doing. You're not. Shame on you. You're leaving that liability to my children, your children, and my grandchildren, and your grandchildren. You've got to find solutions that save money. It's not shame on me. I'm coming to this today, 2 years ago. If you'd have told me at the age of 56 I'd be getting involved in politics, I'd have called you a liar. I've got involved in it because of this chaos. I've got involved in it because I've got 5 sons and 2 granddaughters who cannot inherit this mess. Not just here, but across this country. And if you can't sit back and look at that and take ownership of it, then you shouldn't be here. Thank you very much.
Councillor Gambles.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me, inviting me to speak. I'll just go through. What's really good for me is there's loads of questions about housing. It just shows how fantastic and how important it is in this council and in the borough. Councillor Gerrard, voids. I know you mention it every time, and we do actually have this bing bong backwards, like ping pong, isn't it really? But at the last meeting, I did actually mention that there's been 1,170 voids turned round in the last 12 months. We've got about a £15 million programme. We're going to continue to that. We will always have a circle of voids. There will always be so many voids on our books because people are actually handing the properties back. So we are continuing to work with those. And that, as I say, there was the 1,187 were done in this financial year. Councillor Jones, you've mentioned about the plumbing, and we've now got a new contractor. I think that's been recognised. It's in November, December. They picked it up. I don't know of any contractor or self-employed person who's going to wait 12 months to get paid. That's not true. They've done a tender. They have to prove that they actually have done the work. Can I please for once just finish what I'm saying? Please, I'll explain at the very end when everybody's actually jumped in.
Standing in a quick one, they get paid up front, not at the end of 12 months. Thank you.
Well, I don't know that that's the case. I would have to check that. But what happens is the jobs and the work are inspected. They have to prove that they've done the work, and that's actually taken out of the contract. So I will come back to you on that should I need to, which I very much doubt. So then we've actually got Councillor Draper. As you know, there's been some changes to the right to buy. We did have an influx of applications of December last year when the changes came in. The government has reduced the level of support, so that has significantly reduced the number of people that are coming forward in order to try for the right to buy. You're right, we are able now to use the receipts from the right to buy. Which was for 9 million, for example, is being spent on Logwood, which is in the Douglas ward. So we are making sure that we're using those receipts in the right way. Then we've actually got Councillor Brealey. Glad to know that you did actually acknowledge the fact that it's a ring-fence budget when Councillor Walker was talking, because of course you were on the Housing Advisory Panel for a short time. Let me see. What we've got from a HRA perspective, the HRA cannot go into a deficit. We are using reserves. We have planned to use the reserves. We've got a stock condition survey. which is something that we know that once we've done the stock condition survey, and this is being, every council home is being visited and inspected through the stock condition survey. We know there's going to be some issues. We know that there's going to be work that's needed. So that we've planned to use the reserves in order to meet those costs as well. We've also had additional work from a compliance perspective. So again, the reserves are going to come in. So there's an intention there. And I think, have I answered everybody's question? Is there anybody else? No, thank you very much.
Councillor Raymond, as you reserve your right to speak until the end of the debate, would you like to speak now? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thanks to everyone who contributed to tonight's debate. Councillor Gerard, I agree with you on what a great job our finance team has done. As I've said earlier, we always have to make difficult choices, and it's not just Labour government, it's the successive governments. For the last 15 years, local authorities are expected to raise the council tax by a maximum to have a fair settlement and to equalise their core spending power. But your point on borrowing is nonsensical. We are within our legal limits, and the borrowing is essential to maintain our medium-term financial plan. You can criticise our budget, you know, how much you like, but you are not coming up with an alternative and no costed amendments. And then you are asking us to spend £1 million for every ward in Wigan.
Excuse me, Councillor Watson. Gerard, beg your pardon.
Councillor Raymond, I think you're doing our officers a bit of an injustice there, saying it's not costed. They quite clearly said it was a costed amendment and fully balanced.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks. Councillor Draper, you talk as if reserves are some kind of a political trophy, something to be hoarded rather than used responsibly. This is not how councils operate. Reserves are there for resilience. They protect frontline services when inflation spikes, when demand in children and adult social care surges, or when government funding shifts overnight. The real irresponsibility would be pretending that those risks do not exist. We have set a lawful, balanced budget for next year. We've maintained reserves at a prudent level, consistent with the professional advice from our Section 151 officer.
Point of order, excuse me.
Can I speak?
Councillor Draper, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Raymond, I find that a little bit personal when you're talking about reserves.
Councillor Draper, I'm sorry, I need to just remind you, if it's a point of order, you need to indicate which law or rule of procedure from the council's constitution that you feel has been breached, and also outline how it has been breached. So it's not a point of order. Thank you. No, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Please sit down. Please sit down.
Can you explain what I've just said here? You're not responding.
Councillor Draper, that's not a point of
But
explanation.
then again, you never do.
Councillor Draper, can I just say, and can I make it clear that every opposition leader was given ample opportunity to ask us questions, to have their concerns raised, and you haven't. So let me continue. We have set a lawful, balanced budget for next year. We've maintained reserves at a prudent level, consistent with our professional advice from our Section 151 officer and aligned with our medium-term financial strategy. It's not reckless, it's not excessive, it is responsible. Councillor Draper, for you, cabinet meeting lasted for 10 minutes. But for me and my team and the rest of the cabinet, it lasts for full 1 year. The process will start tomorrow till the next budget meeting. Councillor Brearley. Councillor Brearley.
Excuse me, Councillor Raymond, could you address the chair, please, when you speak?
Okay. Councillor, through you, Chair, Councillor Brearley, I don't know which sums of money you are talking about. And to be honest, I have not seen the money in the bank account. I have no access to the bank account. I wish I had, but, you know, so far I haven't managed to do that. Your point about Wigan Metro Development Company, that is a...
In your documents you sent me.
No.
So I talked at 151 officer.
Excuse me, Councillor Brearley, if it's a personal explanation, you need to indicate which part of your earlier speech appears to have been misunderstood and then clarify that. That's not a personal explanation.
And through you, Chair, Councillor Brearley's point about Wigan Metro Development Company, that is a separate legal entity, although it is wholly owned by the Wigan Council, but it can hold any amounts of money, 16 million or 116 million. Councillor Watson, I've heard you. It can be 9 million or it can be 109 million. Councillor Watson.
Councillor Brearley. Councillor Brearley, you need to stop speaking now. I've not invited you to speak. Please carry on.
Councillor Watson,
Raymond.
I've heard you very, very carefully, but I am stunned by the audacity of your claims. You are either willfully blind or completely consumed by the useless rhetoric of your party. I don't think you know what your party is doing. So let me open your eyes to the performance of some of your councils. Reform-controlled councils. Colleagues, in Derbyshire County Council, reformed hiked council tax by nearly 5%, with a saving target of £50 million, threatening to close libraries and waste recycling centre, and ripping apart the very fabric of communities who trusted you. Should we talk about Kent County Council? They pushed the council tax to nearly maximum, despite a pre-election pledge of no council tax rises. Breaking their promise on the first opportunity they got, struggling to set a balanced budget, and finally admitting that the services were down to the bare bones. And as you mentioned, Councillor Moffat, £67 million in service reduction and £100 million in savings. My message to them is, welcome to the local government, where the currency is hard graft
Excuse
and
me,
commitment.
Councillor Raymond, we have. If it's a point of order, please could you indicate which law or rule of procedure from the Council's constitution that you feel has been breached and how it has been breached?
Councillor Raymond is not following the agenda. She's going off the agenda. And every time I go off the agenda, you shut me up, but you're not shut.
Order. That's not a point of order. Please carry on.
Okay, so welcome to the local government, where the currency is hard graft and commitment, not empty slogans and sound bites. Councillor Watson, let's go to Durham County Council. They backtracked on maximum rise and balanced their books on the backs of the weakest and the most vulnerable in society. And dare I mention Worcestershire County Council, begging for permission from the government to raise the council tax by a whopping 9%. Yes, 9%. For what?
Councillor Raymond, I'm really sorry, but you've come to the end of your time. Can we have a little bit less background noise, please, when people are speaking? Leader, do you wish to sum up on the motion?
Yeah, I think I do, really. But can I just say that what's been presented tonight has certainly caused a bit of debate and a bit of interest. But can I just remind Councillor Gerard, straight from the start, you weren't voting for the budget. Can we just remind the people out there that you never offered an alternative? You never offered an alternative budget. You had ample time.
Councillor Gerard, if it's a point of order, you need to indicate which law or rule of procedure from the Council's constitution that you feel has been breached. Oh, personal explanation. Indicate which part of your earlier speech appears to have been misunderstood and then clarify, please. That's what you need to do for a personal explanation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the leader may not have heard that our amendment was fully costed. And to say that we didn't give time to give it an alternative budget, we only had a budget meeting 10 days ago, just over 10 days ago. As Councillor Raymond said, they've been at it a year.
Okay.
You know, so that's why.
Thank you, Leader.
Unless I'm missing something, an amendment is not an alternative budget. And they've had the information, they've had one-to-one meetings with the officers to go through the budget. So let's just remind people that nobody across that chamber offered an alternative budget. And obviously,
will you stop interrupting the speaker, please, or I'll have to give you a warning. Thank you.
And let I just remind them again that this is the budget meeting, so you can sit through your cabinet meeting, but this is the budget meeting, and this is where the budget is presented for acceptance by this council, just as a reminder. And can I just comment on what Councillor Watson said right at the beginning about hope? And we always have hope. But when we hope for things that might not happen, don't think that things are going to change that quickly. And can I just remind Councillor Watson, and I know he won't mind me saying it, if there are Reform councillors in here after May, they will have been elected as Reform councillors. Can I remind you that you were not elected as a Reform councillor? So therefore, I ask you to stand down and stand as a Reform councillor in May. But Madam Mayor, can I just say, and a big thank you to everybody who's been involved tonight, regardless of the stage show or pantomime, whichever we want to call it, you got involved in the debate. But this budget is the right budget. It's the right budget for this council, it's the right budget for the people of this borough. And I recommend this budget to this chamber. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
We will now move to the vote on the original motion to approve the recommendations outlined within the report. And I need to remind members to use the electronic voting system, as a recorded vote must be taken. So please vote now for the budget proposals or against the budget proposals. And can you just double check your votes, please? Thank you all. The recommendations are carried. Before I close the meeting this evening, members, can I request that you remain in the chamber just for 5 minutes while the public gallery and reception areas are cleared. Thank you. And that concludes the business for the evening, members. Thank you for your attendance. Have a safe journey home.